Paramount Pictures presents Mia Farrow in a William Castle production, Rosemary's Baby, co-starring John Cassavetes, written for the screen and directed by Roman Polanski.
Welcome back to the show, everybody.
Happy Halloween. This is our Halloween weekend episode.
Halloween. Oh, boy.
I can't wait to talk about this movie with our guests.
I've been waiting to do this one for a while. Everybody out there listening, my name's Pete.
And I'm Scott, and these are the movies that made us gay.
Yes, indeed.
Listen to Mia Farrow's sweet lullaby voice.
I love her voice. I can listen to it all night.
Oh, yeah.
But we're not going to do that. We're going to talk about this movie. Scott, introduce our wonderful guests to our listeners.
We had my friend Muffy Bolding over.
Muffy, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
And you probably guessed it. We watched Rosemary's Baby, released June 12th, 1968, directed by Roman Polanski. Wow. So you have been following our podcast even before we started airing episodes.
Yes.
Did you know that?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, I do. I think I was one of your very first, actually, followers.
I think so. So I know Muffy from my job. She comes into my job very regularly at Trader Joe's.
God, yes.
And I think that I just spotted you with Jackie Beat out of drag. And I'm just like, is that Jackie Beat out of drag? And who's she with? Because I had seen you before. And then I think that I just mentioned, do you know Jackie Beat?
Yes. Well,
yep.
I take that bitch grocery shopping with me. I make her load my groceries.
I haven't seen Jackie in a lot lately.
She hasn't been in lately?
I haven't seen her. Maybe she's
hiding from you.
I tend to work later in the day, so maybe she comes in earlier.
Yeah. That's weird. I think maybe she goes to the one in Lock and Yada.
Okay, that makes sense.
She's cheating on you.
I know. What the heck?
Such a bitch.
Easier parking in Luck and Yada.
You immediately wanted to do the show, and you, of course, said Rosemary's Baby. So I have been holding this episode for 123 episodes of our show.
Yes.
And we finally got it, and it's our Halloween weekend episode, so it's perfect.
It's all absolutely perfect.
How do you like that?
Yeah. Yes. And I thank you profusely for holding it for me, because I know it's everybody loves Rosemary's Baby, but it is my most favorite movie of all time. Absolutely adore it, every aspect of it. And so, yes, I'm so excited to be here.
I mean, is this the darkest movie made by a major Hollywood studio for the time in 1968? I was thinking that today, of just like, I mean, of course there had been Psycho, but I don't think that Psycho even goes to the crazy fucked up things that this movie goes into.
Yeah, I don't.
So, yeah.
I have to agree with you. I think that, I mean, it was fucked but, you got to really think about the time.
Yeah.
I mean, this was shot in 1960s. In fact, principal photography began on this film on my birthday.
Oh, wow.
August 21st.
Summer of 1967.
And, 67 is sort of the beginning of the 60s when we think of the 60s. That's and, I think this was a lead into that. And I think it really starts to become apparent in this film. Even in the big party scene that she has when she's announcing that she's pregnant, all this
I love all of her friends. They look like so much fun.
Oh my God, do you die?
Yeah.
I know. It's like,
love them.
Yeah, it's
just pot smoking hipsters.
Yeah.
Just like the
and just exactly like drag queens, and I love it too. And I'm wondering, where did Rosemary Woodhouse from Omaha meet all the fucking drag queens?
Right, yeah.
So it must have been through Guy, through theater.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's all I can guess. But anyway, it does get pretty dark, and it's just such a perfect movie in every way. I mean, I watch this movie constantly. I just put it on in the background. And I study every single shot and every single brick and every single dish, and because it's just so interesting to me. In fact, here's a small tidbit. Apartment 7E at the Bramford is my happy place. Seriously, when I go to therapy, my psychiatrist and my therapist both know. They go, "Are you going to 70?" I'm going to 70.
I love that.
So
wow,
I love that.
So I
That's so cool.
I haunt the halls of 70.
I mean, that apartment is just like.
So it is called the Bramford in Rosemary's Baby,
Yes.
and it is it's the Dakota.
They
use the Dakota for the exteriors,
Yes.
and I believe that it's shot on a studio and at Paramount, but they tried to match it to look like
exactly
one
like
of the
yes.
apartments there.
Yes, and then I think they were very, very successful. But yes, the opening shots over Mia Farrow singing Christoph Komeda's lullaby, and you see that exterior shot coming over the. Oh God!
Yeah.
It's wild when you look
Beautiful.
at pictures of the Dakota from around when they built it, and you look at Central Park.
I mean,
and there's nothing
It was
around
in
it.
the middle of
It's
nowhere.
in the middle of nowhere, outside of Central Park,
So
New
there's
York.
Central Park, and then there's the Dakota.
Yeah.
and there's so much secrecy around the Dakota.
Right. Yeah. It's
like
very-
even if you're Googling pictures and stuff, you don't get that many pictures. People rarely move out of there.
I
They
found
die.
a website that had an apartment that was going for sale. It was going for something like $4 million, and they had renovated it.
Wasn't it like 12 or
Oh,
something?
I don't.
I
don't
think it was
remember.
like 12 million.
12 million or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
That sounds a little more correct with New York real estate.
But they redid it. It was too modern.
That's
they
when they
redid
fuck
it,
it up.
Yeah.
You want to leave it old school.
I'm looking at these pictures going, what the hell?
Yeah,
I can buy that here.
Exactly. This is in Glendale, baby. No. It's got to be old and witchy.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
That's what I say too.
Well, wasn't one of the big selling points of the Dakota? I mean, when they originally, what was it? The turn of the 20th century? Was it even?
It was like
even the 20th century?
1899
I think
or
it was.
something.
Yeah.
18. Yeah.
I feel like one of the selling points was that every unit was unique in
Yes.
its floor
Was a little
plan.
different.
Yes.
That's insane.
They do not even know, the people that run the management. They still do not have an absolutely accurate count of how many rooms.
Right.
That's how weird and secretive and hidden doors and all
because
that
of
kind of stuff.
subdivisions and all
Absolutely, because of people, they've subdivided it down and cut everything up.
That's crazy.
So yeah, and of course, John and Yoko
that. Yeah, right.
live there and own like the whole floor overlooking.
okay.
I don't know which floor they're on, but
That was interesting that they didn't sell it after he got assassinated. That I think that they kept the apartment.
yeah, I think
And Sean ended up like moving in.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, so every day when you come home, you have to walk over the spot where your father was
Well,
killed.
that's the
Yeah.
other thing too. It's
Right
like
there,
the
right-
entrance,
right
that
there.
archway.
As you're, yeah. I mean, the scene where what's her face,
Victoria Vetri,
Victoria
the
Vetri.
actress.
Yeah, Terry D'Onofrio.
Yeah.
when she jumps,
Terry,
and that's
yeah,
it,
yeah.
Terry. That's where
Yeah.
exactly where it happened,
Wow.
right there. So it's interesting.
That scene. I mean, we'll talk a little bit about
Yes.
that and the Castevets and Terry and all
Oh,
of it. But
God.
that scene when those two just come walking down the
best.
sidewalk,
Sauntering up, yeah.
in his pink slacks
Yep.
and her like,
yeah.
oh my
Her
goodness,
pink hair,
those two,
Yeah, they're the best. They're the best. Jackie Beat and I always threatened to get married, Mary, married, husband and straight lady husband and husband, gay husband, and we always threatened to dress up
much.
as Minnie and Roman in that exact scene where they're strolling down.
those are
72nd.
I mean, in a movie full of amazing looks from the two of them.
Well, honey, we'll get there.
That entrance look
Honey.
is a lot.
Oh yeah, just
And I
all of
love
it, all of it. The costumes are really.
Yeah.
The wardrobe in this film is, I think, my favorite part of the whole thing. But we'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
So before we get too into the movie,
Yes.
do you remember when you first watched Rosemary's Baby?
I'm sure that I saw it as a child at some point. I don't remember exactly the first time that. I wish I did.
So I remember reading about this movie in Premiere Magazine in EW, I think in the early 2000s, did a list of the top 20 like best horror movies of all time.
Right.
And kind of budding cinephile, I noticed Rosemary's Baby. And I remember my stepdad always talking about Rosemary's Baby and The Fearless Vampire Killers. Two movies that when he was younger, he was obsessed with.
Right.
And of course, my little podunk town, their video store, did not have Rosemary's Baby.
Oh
Wow.
my God.
So I feel like it was just one of those movies that I'd always heard about, but I could just never track it
You
down.
had to wait
Yeah.
for Netflix.
And then Netflix came around.
Oh, man.
And I Netflixed that shit, and I watched it with my parents.
Did you die?
And loved it.
It's the best. It's the oh my God, it's so genius. I mean,
Yeah. My memory was that my parents and my mother in particular saying, it's so scary, but it's like it's a different kind of horror.
Yes.
It's building the entire time.
Yes,
And
yes.
when I said I'm going to watch it, and she was like, don't expect there to be like,
Yes.
devils and weird things and jump scares and all that. It's a feeling that you're going to get.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, okay, that's interesting. All right. And then watching it. And first off, just being kind of in awe of the look of the movie, the visual,
everything.
Everything from Mia Farrow and just how like beautiful and tragic and all of that.
Yes.
The clothes, just the aesthetic, the vibe,
Yep.
and New York in the 60s.
Oh, honey, that's
Oh my God.
New York.
Yeah, and watching something like Breakfast at Tiffany's, which my mother also loved.
Yes.
And we're fairly close in
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Right.
I think Breakfast at Tiffany's is what, like 61 or
Same
so.
decade.
Yeah,
Is it?
Same decade. They're both in the
early
60s.
60s, I think. Yeah,
But it's just they have such different kind of a vibe,
Yeah.
but still you can see that it's both this kind of gone New York. you
Yes.
know?
Oh, which I love.
Yeah.
I love. I watch The Odd Couple, the
Yeah.
TV show. I don't even watch it for Oscar and Felix. I
You're
watch
just
it because
looking
I want to
around.
see New York City. Like what it look like?
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
And then
totally
I
get
feel like in college, I remember the first time when I saw the Royal Tenenbaums and the way he shot New York.
Honey.
A very specific
Honey.
style
Yep.
of, I'm not going to show you Times Square and the Statue of Liberty. I'm just going to show you the New York that I love and that I saw
That's
in
right.
movies.
this
as a
love letter
kid.
to a bygone New York City.
And
Yes.
yeah, and I immediately thought of the New York of Rosemary's Baby.
Yes.
And
that is absolutely
the
truth.
rooftops of the Dakota.
Oh
green
God,
and
that's
all.
the whole thing.
Yeah.
That opening shot when they come over the top. I watch it and I freeze it. And
Yeah.
like okay, look in the window, watch it and freeze it, and
And then I just think like, would these shots even look the same today? Would there just be buildings behind it that weren't there?
I think the exact same
50
thing.
years
Yep,
ago,
yep.
like how much has visually changed of immediately around this building? Probably a lot.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
I haven't been to New York unfortunately, I haven't been to New York for over 20 years. So I was, a kid last time I was there.
Yep.
So I didn't really get a chance to appreciate all of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like this movie is just like that time capsule. And the thing about the way Roman Polanski shot this movie with these crazy long takes, you really do get a chance to look around these shots.
They're long takes, but they're not very showy. Like, you kind of have to be watching for them
Yes.
that there hasn't been a cut.
Yeah, you don't
Yes.
even realize it half the time.
Yes. Yeah, and there are some weird cuts and fades in this.
Yeah.
The one that always throws me. I watch this movie, like I told you, I watch it all the time. I just leave it on in the background.
Yeah.
There's one shot and cut and fade that throws me every time, and it's the beginning when they're eating dinner with Hutch.
Right.
And it's right the last shot, just as they cut away. He says, I can't remember what he says now. They're sitting around the table, and then it's this weird fade, and it feels weird every time I watch it, and I can't figure out what he did differently there. But it feels,
But it just adds to the uneasiness.
It does-
though,
that's
of the
exactly
movie.
what it does.
And also just like the weird, uneasy framing. Who shot this movie? I can't remember his name.
I'll find it.
Well, anyways, just how he frames a shot of characters just off the screen a little bit that you can't see them. Like when Minnie is on the phone with the doctor. And you can see her on the phone, but you really can't
I love
see her on the phone.
Yes.
And your head just wants to just turn to the right a little bit.
your head totally
to try to
wants-
look and see
actually,
what she's doing.
I have found myself turning, leaning to the right to see around the wall. Like, what the hell is she doing in there?
My goodness.
Who shot it?
William
Fraker.
Fraker?
William Fraker.
William Fraker,
William
yeah.
Fraker did. That's right. William Fraker did. Yeah, there was a lot of weirdness when this movie first started.
He shot Bullet and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yes, these were like the heavy hitters.
Yeah.
But William Castle was supposed to originally direct.
So he immediately bought the rights to the book, and I think the book came out in 66?
66.
Yeah, so he
Came out in
immediately
66.
bought them. I
Yes.
don't even know if the book was even published.
Right.
But he pretty much just heard the child of Satan
Yes, and was
to
like,
this
I'm
New
in,
York couple,
I'm in.
and he's like, I'm in.
I'm in.
And then he got Robert Evans at Paramount on board.
Who
and
is-
Robert Evans kind of had the talk Paramount into making this crazy movie.
Yeah.
And I think that Robert Evans brought on board Roman, who had just pretty much just done these cool art house movies in Europe.
Weird European art house films. Yep. And so, but Robert Evans has the eye. He has the magic.
Yeah.
He knew exactly. Like even in the casting, Polanski, he read the book And he also adapted the book to screenplay in 3 weeks.
And also quite literally, that he just lifted lines from the book.
If you read the book, and you can literally read the book and watch along. So, because first I go, motherfucker did it in 3 weeks. I write scripts. You can't write a script. And then I realized, he just transcribed is what he did.
And then he got an Oscar nomination.
And then he got an Oscar nomination for it. But, his initial idea for Rosemary, because in the book she's described as like milk-fed, and she's from Omaha.
Okay.
So she's
like an
Midwestern.
all-American girl.
So he thought Tuesday Weld.
Right.
Who's like a Sandra Dee type,
Yeah.
a little more lush, blonde, blue-eyed, all that stuff. And of course, Bob Evans was like, we got this other actress over here, very interesting on Peyton Place.
But she's from TV, though. Yeah.
And he went to bat for her. And, for me, and then of course for Guy, he wanted Robert Redford.
Which makes sense because it's the very on-the-nose choice.
Very much the on-nose.
Yeah.
But he also had Jack Nicholson in his back pocket as a backup, which would have been very strange.
Yeah.
I think a little too distracting. But but Robert Redford would have been the obvious choice. Like if you go back to that time and who was working and who was he would have been like very, very on the nose.
Yeah.
And Bob Evans had he wanted something a little scrappier
Sure.
than Robert Redford. And of course John Cassavetes.
John Cassavetes does look like the type of man that would sell his wife out to Satan.
Absolutely.
So it makes sense.
He does. There's a little bit of a greasy bohunk actor aspect to him, I think. I do.
I love that if we would have gotten Robert Redford, it's kind of would have been like the The Apartment kind of a thing, right?
The anti The Apartment or anti Barefoot in the Park.
Yeah. Barefoot in the Park.
Both sort of New York dwelling apartment movies.
Like upside down versions,
exactly.
dark versions of that.
I do love Robert Redford, though, I just have to say.
Oh, yeah.
Honey, Hubble Gardner is
He would have worked.
Yeah.
And
Hubble
also,
Gardner's my everything.
I mean, you can't touch also 60s Robert Redford.
You cannot.
Like,
You
peacockness.
cannot.
Louise.
Yeah. I mean, even and you watch Barefoot in the Park and you're like, I'm in love with him.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Yeah.
So anyway, so Robert Evans got his way, luckily, because I can't even imagine this film without Mia Farrow.
Yeah.
I mean, that wayfish, I mean, she's just a slip of a girl.
The type of actress and
Yeah.
movie star that I really can't name a young actress like this anymore.
Yeah.
Oh,
That
no,
they don't
not
really
today.
exist.
No.
I'm trying to think. The closest you could really come is Michelle Williams, I think.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think
Yep.
Michelle Williams, might, but
Yeah.
but she's such a changeling. You know what I
Right,
mean? She
right.
really is.
Yeah.
She disappears
Yeah.
into a part. But that's the closest, I think, absolutely. But Mia Farrow is everything. I mean, she's just, and the haircut and come on now.
Her voice is so like ethereal, just this like
Yeah,
this lilting.
It's like a cute little talking anime character.
very much so. She's very much so. And which, of course, leads me right into the idea of the topic of her style in this film was very carefully crafted and manipulated to be a certain thing. Anthea Silbert was the costume designer, and she's brilliant. She did Chinatown also. She's a fucking genius. And, this movie has, I mean, if you get online and look up Rosemary's Baby style, there are thousands of websites that are like obsessed with the same, the style that she brought. And what that style really is they wanted Polanski and Anthea Silbert together decided they wanted her to look like a little girl.
Sure.
They wanted her to look naive.
her nightgowns.
Like naive. So if you
Yeah.
think about her dresses, which are awesome,
Yeah.
but they're little baby doll dresses.
Right.
And some of them have huge collars, like a
Yeah.
little girl, like a 5-year-old little girl. Every single costume or outfit that she wears in this film, except for one, is like a little girl.
Right.
She's wearing flats, little sandals, little hat, little boat hat on the back of her head.
Yeah.
Everything looks like a 5-year-old girl, except for baby making scene.
Sure.
Okay.
So then they
Yep.
put her in the blood red,
Right.
and then, where she looks a little more sophisticated.
Sure.
But even at the party, when everybody comes over, when she announces that she's pregnant, and the guys, you look like chalk, piece of chalk. Even in that holiday dress, she still has a little lace collar, little
Right.
Peter Pan collar.
Right.
So she's infantilized, visually, and which I thought it worked so well.
And
in
even the
helping.
blocking of when she's watching Guy's commercial.
Oh, my God.
She's going up to the TV like she's a little kid.
Little kid. She's squatting
Yep.
down in front of the
Yeah.
TV like a little child.
Yeah.
It's exactly it.
So, how much of this styling in this movie do you think kind of influenced mod fashion, or was that already?
I
Kind
think
of
that
there.
mod fashion really started, coming about in its early 60s.
Earlier
but
six-
you
yeah.
started more in England,
Right.
over there. You have the mods and the rockers and all that stuff, and then it started to bleed over here with the Beatles and Beatlemania and all
Yeah.
that stuff. And so I think it was kind of here, but I think that Anthea Silbert, the one who designed the costumes, I think she was just she's still alive, by the way, such a genius that I think that she pulled together all of these different vibes, and different styles to piece it together to come up with this wardrobe. That is extraordinary.
Yeah.
I never tire of looking at it. I mean, sometimes I'll turn the damn sound off just so I can watch Rosemary's clothing. It's just unbelievable.
Mia Farrow said on the Criterion that her cute little muumuu, that is hers.
Oh, really?
That
The one
she-
that's
That's her dress that she just brought to set, and
In
the costume
which-
designer was
which
just
scene?
like, well, let's just use this.
it's perfect. It's
Yep.
exactly those little. It's like mini skirt,
Oh, sure.
but sleeveless,
Yeah.
So the night of when they were making the baby, that's obviously when she's wearing the blood red.
Right.
But the other costume that is very, very telling is at the end when she's wearing the robe.
Yeah.
Yes.
She is wearing a light blue robe and her slippers, and it's got white lace on it. And Polanski wanted to mirror the Virgin Mary, the Mother of God.
Sure, that makes sense.
That's when you look, when you know that,
Yep.
and you look at it, you go, oh my God, how did I
Blue
not
with
see
white,
that?
yeah.
And she does look like, because those are Mary's colors, her light blue and white. And so, so it's just interesting. There's so much symbolism in this film that you just don't catch the first time you watch it. The fact that they go over to Hutch's house and have dinner, and he serves them lamb at the beginning, and they're eating the lamb being
This
the
huge lamb, right?
ultimate
Yeah.
metaphor for the body of Christ. So there's just tons of stuff in here, but you don't even have to know all that shit to
Right.
enjoy this film because it's fucking scary.
I remember specifically back to the first time I saw it over 20 years ago, and just the iconic Rosemary look, the iconic Mia Farrow look, is the Vidal Sassoon.
Oh my
haircut,
God, please.
Right?
Ah.
And I'm watching this movie just thinking to myself, when does she get the haircut? She still doesn't have the haircut.
She's still wearing the wig, the weird bob wig.
Yeah.
And some of those shots, the bob wig.
Yeah, it's a little
Yeah,
wiggy.
and we were also noticing when you could tell the pickup shots that were probably taken a little late in production that
Yes.
her hair's growing
It's
out
grown
a little
out.
bit.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
she's it's an entire pregnancy.
It
but,
is. It is. But I dig deep in this. I freeze frame it. I'm looking at the calendar and I'm trying to figure out when was her period and when did she get pregnant and when is she due? And she's due in June, all right.
June 66,
And
yeah.
1960. Yeah. So all of 1966.
Yeah.
So there's just so much there. Oh God, it's so good. And
Have you seen the photo of Vidal Sassoon cutting her hair at Paramount?
yes, where she's
I love
do
that
too.
photo. I think
do
it's
too.
so cool.
I do too. With her she's got a towel on. She looks so adorable.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they pretty much had a press conference of her getting this damn haircut.
Yeah, it was like a big deal. And what's so
Yeah.
funny, I mean, it's such a beautiful cut. I mean, and she, with that bone structure, oh my
yeah,
God.
yeah.
Yeah.
She was 21 years old. Okay, how weird is that, by the way?
Wow.
21 years old and married to fucking Frank Sinatra.
Married to motherfucking Frank Sinatra.
Who wanted her to quit the movie.
Yeah, he had her served with divorce papers on set during the production of the film. But this haircut, so petty. Yeah, because she wouldn't be the little wifey sitting at home. Because, the 60s were coming.
Oh, yeah.
And she was already starting to hang out with the Beatles and starting to hang out with the Maharishi. And she was already going to India and where
her sister Prudence went with her.
And as we all know, Prudence was immortalized.
In the Beatles song. Yeah.
Dear Prudence.
Yes, that's Prudence Farrow, who was, by the way, I remember when I first read about that when I was a kid, and I was like, what? Why wouldn't she come out?
Yeah.
And they didn't have the language back then. She was having a panic attack. Like a huge, probably from all the drugs or whatever.
Yeah.
And she was having a huge panic attack because she couldn't talk. And she wouldn't come outside. And that's what was compelled that song, which is so interesting. Yeah. But so anyway, Mia Farrow was starting to get into this stuff, and she didn't want to hang around and be Frank Sinatra's little, like, nothing, So he met her when she was 19 years old.
Crazy.
He was almost 50.
Yeah.
Married her. And when she's making this movie, she's like 21 years old. Honey, no, seriously, the Target white cotton granny panties I have on right now are older than 21. Okay? I'm serious. Like, she was a baby. It's so weird to think about. And so, yeah. So, but anyway, where were we going? I can't remember.
Well, I mean, what were we?
I know we were specifically. Who gives a shit?
I think we're just talking about the hair.
Oh, the hair.
Yeah.
We were talking about the hair, which is with her bones. She has the most perfect bone structure on the planet. By the way, when you guys were watching this at all, did you ever look at her and go, "She looks exactly like her fucking son, Rowan"?
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Oh, no,
Well, also who Roman looks like is Frank Sinatra.
That's right. He looks a lot.
And that's what's interesting about Mia Farrow is that, like, even though he divorced her over this movie, she still kept up with him for pretty much his entire life.
The whole lives.
Yeah.
All of her children up till, they all knew who Frank was. Uncle Frank was a constant presence. No, but that hair with that bone structure, I look at her, oh God. And quick aside here. This was about 15 years ago. I had been dyeing my hair like black. I wasn't trying to be a goth. I don't know what the hell. And I tried to get the black out of my hair and it would not come out of my hair. So I had to cut all my hair off. So I went to this punk rock barber in Coronado, California on the island. And I said, just big old butch punk broad. I said, "Have you ever seen Rosemary's Baby?" And she's like, "You want a Rosemary Baby?" I said, "Give me a Rosemary Baby." So she cut all my damn hair off. And I'll tell you something right now. What I didn't realize is that Mia Farrow has curly hair. Okay?
She does, yeah.
She has curly hair. My hair at this time was stick straight.
Okay.
So I got, yes. I got the Rosemary Woodhouse cut, except I didn't look like Rosemary Woodhouse. I looked like Pete Rose. Okay, you think I'm fucking kidding? I looked like Pete Rose. I went home. All three of my kids started crying.
Oh my
They're
God!
Like, Mom. Yeah, it was so. I traumatized my children. I had to grow that shit out. But anyway, that was just a small aside.
That's amazing.
Horrifying.
Well, we always quote the episode of America's Next Top Model where Tyra had one of the beauty queen contestants who had long blonde hair, or was it brown?
She had long brown hair.
Cassandra had long brown hair.
Texas.
Yeah.
And she had her cut it all off.
Have you ever seen that movie Rosemary's Baby starring Mia Farrow? You haven't? Well, I'll explain what her hair looked like in that movie. It was a little bit lighter than yours, and it was this short.
Oh my God.
So you're gonna have to say bye-bye to Beauty Queen.
We're not just cutting this just to cut your hair.
Oh,
this
no.
fits your face.
Your face is strong enough to handle that. Cassandra, why are you crying?
I love my hair.
It'll always grow back.
And when they went back to the shoot, it was kind of like a Karen cut. And when they're at judging, Tyra was like, "No, I asked for Mia Farrow and Rosemary's Baby. Go and get it cut again." And the model walked off.
She said no and left the show.
She said no to Mr. J, and she
But
left.
the point is, Tyra Banks has always said to these girls, if I cut your hair all off, it's because you have the bone structure to carry
It works.
that
That's right.
cut.
That's a compliment.
And she often references Mia Farrow and Rosemary's Baby saying the bone structure
There's
of the
no
face.
greater bone. You show me greater
Yeah.
bone structure than that. You turn her to any angle, and it is astonishing.
But it's so haunting when they do her gaunt
yes,
look.
Yes.
Pretty much
Her-
looking purple.
Her scary.
she does look purple when
look.
she's eating the raw meat. She does look purple, and the sunken eyes.
Yeah.
And So she was able to be made up to look very gaunt,
Yeah.
and it really, really worked.
Yeah.
So good. Oh my God, she's so beautiful.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, it's just a combination of this beautiful face, her teeny little frame,
Yes.
this like whisper of a voice.
Yes.
All of that together just makes this kind of like, and to me, Mia Farrow was always kind of like a very enigmatic presence, you know?
I agree.
Like her private life was, while she did live in the public eye with Woody and adopting all the
Yeah.
kids and all that,
Yeah.
I feel like they still were pretty private.
I have to agree.
Do you know what I mean?
I have
So
to agree.
I always felt like she just was this mysterious kind of woman, you know, especially in the 80s and the 90s, or in the 80s when I was a kid, you know, like we're getting National Enquirer and we're getting like,
Yeah.
actors and actresses in the public eye, and you see Goldie on People and, you know, Cher on the motorcycle and all this. And there's Mia just with like pushing a stroller through New York City.
Army
Yeah.
of kids. Yeah.
With her army of kids, the Benetton family. Yeah. So true.
And, you know, and just, I don't know, everything about her visually just is,
There's something a little mysterious.
Yeah.
I have to agree
Yeah.
with you totally. Yeah, I've watched some stuff about her life now, you know, with all the kids. And I mean, and there's been a lot of shit.
Yeah.
There's
obviously.
the HBO documentary.
Yeah.
I didn't finish it, but I did watch a few episodes.
Yeah, I haven't watched that yet.
Oh,
actually.
it's insane.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sort of terrified. to
Yeah,
watch.
yeah,
I'm
that's
sort
what
of
I'm
terrified to watch. I will get around to that. Actually, thank you for reminding me. I have to add that to my list. But yeah, so I have to agree with you. I think there is something, you know, and then also her background is so strange.
She had
you know?
famous actor parents,
Very
right?
much so. She grew up in the heart of Beverly Hills.
Right.
She grew up, you know, I mean, very, very privileged background, and an interesting family, and also very hardcore Catholic. And
Yeah.
she just had a strange. So I always wondered, like, was her enigma-ish quality? Was it something that she created,
right.
or was it something that she just? Was she just a shy little? I don't know. And by the way, the fact that I don't know,
Right, yeah.
the further, you know. So I think she's
Deepens the mystery.
Yeah, I think she's a fascinating person. I
Yeah.
do.
I always
Absolutely.
read that. I always have read that she wanted to become a nun.
When she was little,
When she was
did.
little.
What's her name? Like her real name is Maria Lourdes. Like,
Oh,
I mean, she has
wow.
like a long
Hardcore Catholic name.
hardcore Catholic name. Yeah.
And then she found herself in Rosemary's Baby,
the mother,
the mother of
I love all the Catholic stuff in the like peppered throughout the movie. Just
Oh,
how
yeah.
that she was brought up Catholic, and I love that it's just that very kind of old fashioned way of saying a Catholic.
Yes.
I was brought up a
a
Catholic.
Catholic, a Catholic,
the
yeah.
real church.
the real church. It's
The one true church.
Yeah, no, it's definitely peppered throughout. Now that you say that, I'm running back all
Well,
the different.
the other things is like, you know, when she's having these dreams after
Yes.
she ate the mouse.
Yes.
And it's like, and there's JFK, and
There's
there's
Jackie O.
Jackie O coming down with her diaphanous
Yeah.
gown with that voice. We'll be up on deck waiting for you.
We
Try
think
to get
that
some rest.
we think the Jackies sound a little Marilyn.
Whenever people try to imitate her, that they usually do. Although she was pretty breathy, if you've ever watched
Yep.
anything.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about that dream sequence is, you know, you go up and it's JFK. Did you guys notice the one shot? The back of his head is blown off.
No.
I didn't notice
Most
that.
people don't notice that when she's standing on the
Oh.
left, he's standing on the right, and she says, "Oh, isn't Hutch coming?" And he says, "No, only
Catholics
only
only."
Catholics only." You know, and if you look back on the back of his head, there's blood
Oh,
and
no.
it's like yes.
Wow.
So keep in mind, this was
Too soon.
just a couple of years
know.
after that actually happened.
Yeah.
You know, this was
Wow.
shot. Let's see, it's 4 years. So that's nothing at all.
Wow,
So
goodness.
yeah. So it's interesting. That whole sequence is
Yeah,
interesting
for sure.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about John Cassavetes. He's great. Scott was mentioning last night that he used to think Cassavetes was not as handsome.
Yeah.
You know, as maybe obviously like Robert Redford, who
Right.
is. But Scott was like, no, I think he's pretty good looking.
I'm kind of coming around to
He's got
thinking
his own
John
thing.
Cassavetes
Yeah.
can get it.
He could get it.
Yep.
He could get it. Yeah, he's got his own thing kind of going on. And it is very kind of East Coast.
Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, the whole relationship between Polanski and Cassavetes on set
Yeah.
was like very contentious.
Right.
They talked about that in the documentary on the Criterion, that Cassavetes is sort of John Cassavetes was very used to improv on his
Yes.
sets.
Yep.
That like there was a script, but you didn't necessarily have to stick to it. And Roman Polanski wanted you to say the exact line. And if Roman didn't like your blocking, he would stop you and let you know.
Yes. And Cassavetes came from the old school where it was, more like method and let me just
Right.
improv and let me
Be the character,
vibe into
yeah.
it. Yeah. And and there was a lot of contention, and also because not only is he an old school New York, stage method actor, he's also a film director too,
Right.
who
Yep.
thought, I know better. That I think this shot is wrong. Why don't you,
Yeah.
And there was that crap. And I read that Ruth Gordon had to step in several times,
Oh,
to
wow.
break it up because
He's the director.
that's
You
right.
have to do what he
'Cause
says.
Ruth don't
Yep.
fucking play. You know what I mean? She's my goddess.
Oh, man.
But she don't fucking play, and she would come in and say, "You know what? Knock this shit off."
Yeah.
because this isn't working. But did you guys hear about Cassavetes the shoe thing?
Oh, yeah.
Tell the story.
Tell the story.
Well,
I've heard it, but yeah.
he came to set and he was wearing this pair of tennis shoes, and I think like white Vans, slip-on Vans. Okay, but at that time, I don't even know if they had Vans then. They could have been Vans but it looked like Gilligan shoes or something.
Oh, sure.
Anyway, so he's wearing these, and they're white and they're thrashed and dirty, and he is insisting on wearing these shoes
Because they were more comfortable to do the scene
in every single shot. And
Yep.
and Polanski's like, okay, you're going to be wearing a suit and you can't wear those. And Polanski later on attributed, he said he thinks that they were like some sort of like a superstition, like a
Sure.
talisman.
Yeah.
Like those shoes gave him the superpower heroes to act. He said he felt like he couldn't act unless he was wearing those shoes. And now that when you know that, you watch the show and you see him, kicking his feet up on the couch, and you see those just dirty,
Yeah.
like, falling apart. But yeah, he insisted on wearing the shoes.
so interesting.
It's so bizarre how, like, okay. But that was just another bone of contention.
And I
Yeah.
think that Roman talks about that Roman says that he likes directing women like Mia Farrow or Sharon Tate
Yeah.
because they're used to a man leading, which is a very 60s
Yeah, oh, yeah.
sort
Oh, yeah.
of like
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
way of thought.
Yeah, yeah.
But like when you're like waltzing with a woman, the man leads.
Right,
And
right.
they just sort of go along with it.
Right.
And two men dancing, they're both going to want to lead.
And that it
Yep.
ain't going to work. Yeah, it's going to be difficult. So yeah, it was probably very uncomfortable on set a lot of the
Yeah.
times. I would think and Cassavetes was a hard ass, and
bet.
Polanski's a hard ass too. I mean, what is he, 5'2"?
Yeah.
So, he motherfucker got something to prove.
Yeah, absolutely.
So so it's interesting.
The photographs are very fun when you see him directing Mia and just kind of like ushering her around the apartment, and
Yep.
he's just her size.
Yes, yeah. I know.
Like, he's
I didn't
so
realize. I know
teeny.
he's so tiny. He's like itty bitty.
Yeah. So you spoke a little bit about Ruth Gordon. We have to talk
You know
about
what's
Ruth.
crazy about Ruth Gordon that I didn't
Everything?
really know
Yeah, everything.
that she is from the silent era.
She totally is from the silent era.
So she's been acting in movies since there were movies.
Yeah, no, she talk about the Algonquin Round Table.
Right.
Homie was like a part of like in that whole
Yeah,
circle.
that New York.
Helen Hayes and James MacArthur and Alexander Wolcott.
Also
Dorothy
kind of a
Parker.
pioneering female screenwriter.
Very much so. She honestly, if I have to choose one hero in my life who is she's totally my fairy godmother. It's Ruth Gordon. I'm serious. Miss Ruth Gordon, Ruth Jones from Quincy, Massachusetts.
Wow.
She is everything. So fierce. Her 125th birthday is on Saturday coming up. And she's I mean, watch Harold and Maude.
That's
I mean,
wild.
she's like, to me, she's gold.
Sure.
I look at her and I'm like, that's gold. That's what I want to be.
Yeah, and I mean, I also love a woman that can have the second wind of her career. How old was she when she made this? Probably in her.
She was like almost 80. She was almost 80. I think when she made. She was in her. Oh, when she made this.
When she made Rosemary's
When
Baby.
she made this, I think she was like 60.
I was going to say probably late 60s.
Yeah, I think she was like 67 or something like that.
Yeah. She was born in 1896.
And she can just have
So
the
she would have
second
been
wind of her
close to
career,
70.
which is so cool.
Yeah.
At a time where stuff like that was pretty hard for an actress.
Oh my God, yes. I mean, and she just. What I love about her is she just talk about chewing the scenery. I mean, because she is a stage. That's what she was.
Yeah.
She was a stage actress, and so my favorite episode of Columbo that I also watch on a daily basis, literally, my husband can vouch for that. She did an episode of Columbo, and when to watch her act in this thing, she acts like she's acting on a stage that's like 50 feet away from
Sure.
you. Everything is exaggerated.
Wait for the back row.
Oh, honey, the scene where they're sitting, Roman and Minnie and Guy and Rosemary are having dinner in their apartment, and she's with the damn cake and with the fork, and it's so over the top, and I love her so much. I absolutely, and the jangling of the damn charm bracelet every single scene.
She's like wiping when he like spills the vodka blush.
Yes.
And she's like wiping
it
up.
Everything is huge.
I mean, it's definitely what this movie needs is that it needs some humor.
Now, to our guests, welcome to our home. Cheers.
Carpet.
Oh, dear.
Brand new carpet. This man's so clumsy.
Because, like, we don't want to, like, look into the darkness for too long. Like, we need something funny.
That's exact. Everything she does is hilarious,
Yeah.
And then they brought in Patsy Kelly, too, played Laura Louise.
Laura Louise.
Come on
Love that
now,
character.
Laura Louise.
Rosemary just trying to listen to her, like, smooth jazz, and they just come barging in.
And by the way, that scene where Rosemary's laying on the couch that just got delivered that morning, she's reading a book, and the book is autobiography of, it's called Yes I Can by Sammy Davis Jr.
Yeah, Yes I Can.
So she was like
Sammy.
hanging out with Sammy. That was Sammy's one of her husband's
she
best
would have
friends.
been,
So she had his book. That's what she was reading.
Sam.
Oh, that's great.
And I know. And then they come in and Laura Louise, I know they come in with their embroidery and their knitting and
and those Coke bottle glasses.
Women from a different time.
totally, and talking about honey, and when I had my period, I couldn't get out. I couldn't eat. I couldn't get out of bed. Yeah. And speaking of which,
I was going to say your talisman,
Tanis, anyone?
Tanis roots.
Tanis roots. So yeah, so I have a Rosemary's Baby necklace that I was gifted.
Are you sure you don't mean anise roots?
Anise? Yes, exactly. Hush.
Yeah. Patsy Kelly, right?
Patsy Kelly. Patsy Kelly was like a comedic actress that they brought in, and I think that he gave her the biggest leeway because she was doing stuff you could tell. Like, my God, the last shot of her when she's walking, when she's at the bassinet, pushing the bassinet, and Rosemary's like, "You're pushing it too hard," and when Roman says, "Laura Louise, let her do it." And when Laura Louise walks away, she sticks her tongue out.
I love that.
You know that was just...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she just could not fucking help herself. Patsy Kelly could not help herself.
Patsy Kelly in
amazing.
one scene is sitting in a chair. I think that it's when they have Rosemary back at the house and they have her in bed.
In bed, yeah.
And she has her magnifying glass reading.
Reader's
And then I'm just flashing to my... Grandma Youngbauer reading her TV guide with
a magnifying
glass. Just women from a different time.
Totally, completely different time.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
I think my grandmother had the one that was like a page size. It was like 8.5 by 11 and like a floppy plastic, but it was a whole magnifier.
Oh,
and she would hold that
up.
Yeah,
that's
instead of like a magnifying glass.
That's so funny.
Yeah. So Ruth. Okay, so I was just listening to Mindy Cohn's podcast today.
Love her.
And she was. It was an older episode. She was talking to Kim Fields, of course. And Mindy Cohn said that she always wanted to be a a Ruth Gordon, Geraldine Page, Cloris Leachman type.
Oh, God.
And I was like, I love that.
The dream for any character actress.
Yeah, throw Madeline Kahn in there, and you got me, honey.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's for me. I never ever got cast in like ingenue roles, even when I was an ingenue. I always got cast in weird character roles, and that's the best. Those are what I love.
Yeah,
the very, very most. They're the most fun. I've played one ingenue. I played Maggie Cutler in the play "The Man Who Came to Dinner," and Betty Davis played her in the film. And it was the least fun that I've ever had acting. Because I'm like, make me like the weird aunt in the attic.
Yeah.
You know, so much more fun. And so, yeah, Cloris Leachman, Madeline Kahn, Ruth Gordon is my everything.
And even just how they're introduced, that Rosemary and Guy are walking home and they find the woman that she was just talking to in the basement doing laundry,
Terry,
dead on the sidewalk because she fell out of the upstairs window.
Yes.
So, okay, there's a couple of things about Terry, right? That first off, Rosemary says to her, I thought you were Victoria Vetri, the actress. And she says, oh, a lot of people tell me that. I don't see it. But the crazy thing is,
she actually is Victoria. The actress playing Terry Giannoffrio actually is Victoria.
Vetri.
Which is like, what were they? What kind of inside joke?
That's so weird.
Yeah, and I think she went on later to be like a Playboy bunny or something like that. She is kind of a piece of ass, I have to say.
She's beautiful, but she's also not credited as Victoria Vetri. She's credited under a different name.
Like Adrian.
So it's so weird.
Yeah,
it just doesn't make any sense.
It's so weird. What is the... I want the backstory on that.
Angela Dorian.
Yes, that's right.
Is what she's credited as.
My name is Terry Giannoffrio. Nice to meet you. I'm Rosemary Woodhouse. We're new tenants here. I'm staying with the Castevets, 7th floor. I'm their guest, sort of, since June. Our apartment used to be the back part of yours. Oh, for goodness sake, you took the old lady's apartment, Miss Gardenia. Gardenia, yeah. She was a good friend of the Castevets. She used to grow all kinds of herbs and things for her to cook with. I saw those plants. Yeah, well, now she grows her own things. Excuse me a moment, I have to put the softener in. What does your husband do? He's an actor. No kidding, what's his name? Guy Woodhouse. He was in Luther and Nobody Loves an Albatross, and he does a lot of television and radio.
So interesting, so crazy. So she tells this story about how, she lives with the Castevets. She's kind of like their ward. They took her in literally off the street.
I almost think that she was like a cast out from like The Factory.
Oh my God, I love your backstory. Let's write it.
I like to think that she was like with the Warhol crowd, and she was just strung out. And
oh my God,
the Castevets took her in.
Okay,
I love that. That's like a whole other swing the camera around. Let's film that.
I love though that like maybe she was somewhere, they were at a party or something, and they all just kind of left, and she was just like having a bad trip. And everybody kind of walked away.
Right.
And then there they came.
Yeah. So good.
But, so here's my question, and it's probably a big debated question, but did they get rid of her because they found Rosemary? Did they get rid of her because she was objecting to things?
What happened?
It just wasn't working out. I don't know.
No, what you do, so that's when Rosemary, they're like Rosemary and Guy are in their room and they can hear Minnie through the wall.
Right. Yes,
it's like, I told you not to tell her. I told you she wasn't going to be on board with this. I told you not to tell her beforehand. What it is they literally said, "Hey, honey, this is the deal," and she was like, "Fuck
not this,"
and they had to get rid of her.
Okay,
and so then, conveniently, here's this, beautiful, young, eager to get pregnant. Young wife just moved into 7E.
And they're right next door.
So right through the closet.
Right through the closet.
I was gonna say, here's my other question. The woman that lived in 7E before
Mrs. Gardenia,
she was growing things in her herbarium. Which is that even a word?
I mean, I think that old New York apartments like that just had an herbarium.
Right, but my question is, I thought that she was kind of in cahoots with the Castevets.
Now remember when Rosemary walked over and was like looking around, and she looked at the desk and she saw something written that said, "I can no longer associate myself with."
And she put the giant hutch.
So that's what I was going to say. Why did she block them out?
I think that she may have been in on it and then decided, I don't want this.
Sure.
And then blocked it off.
Okay.
That in conjunction with I can no longer be associated with.
Right.
That tells me that she was the one who, because for a while I was like, did somebody from the other side of the wall move that there to, I don't know. But I think Mrs. Gardenia actually, I think she came to where she was just like, fuck this. I'm not,
you're right.
These people are jacked up.
Okay. I like it.
And
there would be no reason for them to use their coven powers. What was it called? Like the United Mind? To the way they blinded the other
they blinded
actor.
Donald Baumgart.
Yes, and they put Hutch in the coma and all that. There was no need to do that with Mrs. Gardenia because she was already one foot out the door.
Yeah, but they said that she did go into a coma though.
Oh,
she did die in the hospital.
She died in the hospital.
So maybe they did.
I think they did.
They did.
I think they did.
Okay.
I think they threw the whammy.
Alrighty.
Yeah. And so her, Donald Baumgart.
I love what they. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say the Donald Baumgart trivia piece, which is when Rosemary picks up the phone to call him, and the voice comes over on the other end of the phone, and you actually see her like she was surprised because the voice that Polanski used, and they didn't tell her he was going to use, that's Tony Curtis's voice.
Yep.
And so she had no idea, and she was trying to figure like, I know this voice.
Yeah. And so when you watch it's very apparent that it's an actual conversation that they're having because her audio is through the phone.
Yes,
so it's the back and forth. Of
I agree.
So it's not,
and that's the scene with the cameo from William Castle. He's outside of the phone booth.
He's outside of the phone booth.
That's not the call.
Oh no,
it's late. It's later. It's later.
Yeah.
So where she's figured out.
Oh yeah, she's on the phone with Charles Grodin.
The phone booth is she's trying to get a hold of Dr. Hill.
Yeah,
and William Castle is standing behind. You're so cute. He's so cute. Yes.
So okay, I do love the whole the whammy, as you put it, that they put on people.
Yeah.
It's very witchy. Blinding someone.
So witchy.
Blinding. They're just blind.
I know, but then the whole when Hutch comes over to visit Rosemary that afternoon, and he's like, "Oh my God, you look awful." You're blah blah blah, and then all of a sudden, Roman shows up at the door, like for no reason, and she's like, "Oh, do you want to come in?" And he comes in, and so he wants to oversee what's going on, and then
Guy rushes
he leaves,
home.
and then Guy rushes home because
makeup's still on.
Makeup's still on, and so obviously he was called. Get there and get something that belongs to Hutch.
Yeah,
and that's where the glove disappeared too.
Because for a minute I was thinking, because Roman saw himself out. He's like, I can find my way out. So I thought, maybe he ran and got something. But no, Guy's like, this is your jacket. It's not my jacket, so it must be yours.
Yes.
He grabbed the jacket out of the closet. So he pulled out the glove.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. I want to see the conversation with the Castevets and Guy, with Roman and Guy when Minnie and
they're doing the dishes.
Rosemary are doing the dishes.
First
that's
of all,
when
let's talk about that phone. That shot when they're in there talking and doing the dishes, and Rosemary looks inside the room, and it's another one of those where you want to see her on the hills around the corner, but all you see is just the wisps of smoke, very demonic, like fire and brimstone from hell.
He's like,
such a beautiful.
Do you really want this role?
Yeah.
So wild. The story of just like these crazy neighbors are kooky, and it's like, okay, you go over with your wife and you're just like, wow, these people are kind of kooky, and then all of a sudden they lay this on you and you're just like, okay, I think that'll do. You can have our
there's
our
a lot of
baby.
rejection being an actor, and it would be nice to just sort of like be at the front of the line.
It's so true.
Would I have to sell my wife out to these Satanists?
Okay.
I guess.
No problem. Yeah, because at the end when he says to her, look, Rosemary, they promised me that you wouldn't be hurt, and if you think about it, you really weren't. And that's when she fucking hawks a loogie right in his damn face. Yep. So you just sold our baby.
Man.
Yeah. Think about all we got in return. Okay. Yeah. And I also love that and it was a very, very conscious choice not to show the baby.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because think about it. Let's talk about it for a second. If they had showed the baby with the audio animatronic claws and the,
or even the contact lens, not contact lens, they couldn't put contact lenses in a baby, but I mean,
how
what would they have done?
Did they even have the technology really to even maybe? That played into it too, but Polanski thought it would be far scarier if we never saw it, which I agree with.
Oh yeah, definitely, absolutely.
Yeah, because everything in your mind is not gonna. I mean,
he has his father's eyes. That you already know.
Is going to be so much scarier.
The tiger eyes. But then when Laura Louise, look at his feet.
Oh,
look at his feet. You're like, well, what are they? Are they cloven hooves?
They're totally
are they chicken feet?
Chicken
yeah.
And we did get the shot of the beast
on top of Rosemary.
Oh
my goodness!
I actually had to look. That actor is that guy is credited. His name is like Clay something or other.
The rumor is that it's Anton LaVey, the head of the Church of Satan.
It is not Anton LaVey.
It's not Anton LaVey.
No, his name is like Clay something or other.
Yeah.
He's actually an actor who acted in a bunch of like kind of Burt Reynolds kind of films after that, which makes perfect sense.
Sure.
But yeah, can you imagine?
That is wild. That is crazy.
That whole scene is just, I mean, oh my God. And also, none of the body parts that you see are actually Mia Farrow.
Yeah, I didn't think so because you never see her face.
Well, Frank Sinatra was not going to let his wife's titties be shown. That ain't happening.
Right.
And so, so all that. But it is, oh my God.
Well, okay. So they're having this dinner. This romantic dinner.
Right.
There's a knock on the door, and she's like, "Please don't let it be her." At this point, she is over Minnie. She's just like, "This woman is a busybody.
Yep.
They're just going to be our neighbors. I got to make peace with it." But when the door, she's, "Please don't let it be Minnie." It's Minnie, but he closes the door and he comes back and he's got the mouse. And it's got a choky undertaste.
You can just taste.
It's got an undertaste.
You can just taste that.
How true is that?
Yeah.
Like you
so
can
weird.
just taste it.
I was watching it today, and I could literally taste it.
Yeah.
And he comes back in, and then you got to watch which one he's got in his hand because.
Yes.
But he puts it down, and you notice that hers has a cherry on top. And his does not.
Okay.
Because right before she eats, she takes the cherry off.
It's like my Diet Coke at the restaurant with the lemon in it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how you know exactly.
So they know.
And so that's how you know.
So, and it's funny because, she doesn't like it. It's got the chucky undertaste.
Yes.
And so she fakes it, but she doesn't eat enough of it.
Yes.
And so she's like half awake.
They don't quite knock her all the way out.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder. I mean, she only ate that much and it kind of knocked her out pretty well. If she'd eaten that whole
goodness.
thing, that's like OD territory.
Days.
I'm serious.
Oh, yeah. She's going to be waking up after like Columbus Day.
Seriously. I mean, and all like 87 pounds of her. I mean,
slept through the whole pregnancy, maybe.
Seriously.
But so she gets knocked out and she starts having these crazy dreams that we were talking about earlier with JFK and Jackie. Yeah. So when we do see the mattress with the floral print,
yes,
I love an old school mattress with the
floral
print,
ticking.
Mm-hmm. But it's in the Castevet's apartment, but the apartment is now empty.
Yes,
is this her dream or did they clear it out?
I thought about that too.
Yeah, we're thinking about that
because it's sometimes when you're having waking dreams, have you ever had a dream where you're sleeping but you're kind of awake? Maybe sleep paralysis kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And as she's in the dream, as this is happening, there's the flames that are behind. She can see that's that painting. It's like, what is it like? The burning of St. Petersburg, burning of. This is a famous painting, and so in her mind, I guess she animated
down the hallway.
Yes,
and
then
you
also
side.
see Roman's father, and there's a painting of him actually there. He's got his hand he's like a judge.
Oh,
he's got
right,
his hand
right.
But in her dream, he's alive. He's like looking down, and so I think she was incorporating parts of the dream, her dream state, but also the actual physical surroundings where she was at.
Yeah.
So I actually thought about that too, but then the fact that she was in a boat.
Stairs, yeah.
So he said, you better go, what's the word I'm even trying to think of? Diego. Diego is the kid who was working the elevator at the beginning,
operator.
But then he's also the guy steering the ship. That's the one that says, you better go downstairs, you better go... Below, that's the word I'm looking for. So they are below in a boat, but where did the whole nautical thing come? I can't, am I missing something?
That might have just been... do they say something about?
Because then Hutch is like dressed like a sea captain, and there's like a gale, and I can't quite,
I mean,
Yeah,
I guess
that
that we all
part-
just have dreams that were someplace really random,
Yeah,
and
maybe
why
I just
can't
needed
it be
to telegraph
like a
this is
sailboat?
a dream.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah,
her
maybe.
part.
Well,
I can't
because-
remember in the book if a boat is described in the book.
Yeah, I can't remember either. I know. Well, okay, let's talk about it for a second. So she goes in. He lays her on the bed. She's wearing the blood red out pantsuit, and that first shot of her is she's floating on she's on the mattress that's floating on the sea.
Right.
So maybe she felt like I'm in a boat floating on the sea.
Yeah.
A raft.
So that's
Yeah.
or a raft or whatever. So I think maybe that's what gets us to the water.
Yeah.
I love that cut where you think that Mia's naked, and then it just sort of cuts back, and she's in a bathing suit.
Yeah, because she's like,
That's such a beautiful take.
Yeah.
yeah, and those titties are so beautiful too.
goodness.
Damn, damn.
They did really cool things with the dream state being like a handheld camera.
Yeah.
And, he doesn't really use handheld in a lot of other shots. So it kind of gave
differentiated
this,
it from
these weird close-ups and things like
from
that.
reality, and then the Pope at the end with the
Yeah.
suitcase, which is so and, yeah.
The little Pope suitcase.
I got bit by the mouse. Am I forgiven?
Bit by the
Absolutely.
mouse.
And then
Yeah.
kiss my fisherman's ring, honey.
Yes.
And so, yeah. And then also when she first goes under, during that whole sequence after she's drugged, and then she's laying in the Sistine Chapel. And then she's moving through the Sistine Chapel, and then you see her go under the shelves in the closet.
Yep.
Like she
Yep.
incorporated all
Yep.
of that imagery into, and then she goes under an archway in the Sistine Chapel, and then
And
it
it's her
turns into a closet.
yeah.
So it's all just so imaginative and spooky.
Where do they
and
come up with this
lovely.
shit?
That's what I mean. What were these
where does this come
motherfuckers?
from?
What were these motherfuckers taking? Like, what kind of drugs?
I love, though, all of the Castevets and their friends, these old people just standing there, just all nude.
No, I know.
And there's Guy in the back, and he's like, she's awake.
Oh my God! And what she says to him?
Yeah. She can't see
She
anything.
can't see nothing. If she ate the mouse, she's asleep. Now shut up and sing or whatever.
Shut up and sing.
It's
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
So good.
And there's something so scary about all of their friends that they're just so average looking.
Yes,
like
that's-
they're not the type of people you would think would
Satanists.
be Satanists.
Now, and that's what's
Yep.
even scarier.
Yeah.
Like totally. And you know what else is? Let me tell you what else was freaked me out in that movie. And it's one of those things that you don't really notice it. I mean, you notice it, but you don't. Is at the end when they all have the baby, okay, in the black bassinet with the upside down crucifix and all that stuff, and Rosemary finds her way in there, and she's wearing the blue robes of the Virgin Mary, and she's got the huge knife in her hand, and she comes into the room, and there are all those odd people in the room.
The Japanese businessman.
The Japanese businessman
Yep.
with the camera clicking.
yeah.
But there's the one guy who's about 6'7", wearing a white suit, and he's like Spanish or something.
Yeah.
Like, that shit.
He comes
freaks-
in late.
That shit freaks me
Yeah.
out. And he has gifts, and it's like these like the three wise men
Yeah.
coming to see Christ.
Yes.
Now, but that beauty, he's beautiful too. He's like beautiful, smooth
Yes.
skin, and very.
Yes.
And is this the mother? Like, and it's just that guy freaks me out.
Yeah.
Because I remember my family. I'm from Fresno. Mexican family, always talking about devils and Satan and all that kind of stuff. And when my great grandmother Mary Martinez always told me, when the devil comes, he's not going to look like the devil, honey.
Yeah.
He's going to be handsome. And they always tell the story about the going to the country dance, and they're out, and this one guy comes in who's so handsome, and all the girls want to dance with him, and everybody's dancing with him, and then about halfway through the evening, someone points down and screams, and he has chicken feet.
Oh, my God. See?
It's the chicken foot thing. But his beauty, it's the one thing that he can't hide, that Satan can't hide. But his beauty distracts, and that's what that guy that guy reminded me of the chicken foot guy that I always imagine in my head that Grandma Mary told me about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so scary, and so it is totally normal. And the other thing too, let's talk about Dr. Hill, Charles Grodin.
Yes.
Is he in on the shit?
I mean,
know. I think that Dr. Grodin is just a man in the 60s. When
he's
she
just like,
comes
she's
in
hysterical.
talking about Satanists, that he is going to call her husband.
Yeah,
and
like,
pregnant
okay.
woman.
bring her off to the loony bin.
Because the one thing, there's one clue that they drop with Dr. Hill, so that you can't really lump him in with Saperstein and the rest of the squad, the demon squad, is that when he tells Rosemary, he calls to tell her that she's pregnant on the phone, and she says, "What's next?" And he says, "Okay, well, I'm going to get you in, for your next appointment, and I want you to get Natalins." And Natalins are pregnancy vitamins. And he's make sure you get the Natalins. He says it twice.
Yeah.
And I think that's our clue, because
Sure.
Saperstein
No.
says, "I don't want you to use these. I want you to take the Tannis root milkshake." And so I think that's a clue to us that tells us that Hill is not with the Satanists. I think you are correct.
He's using
Scott.
medicine.
Yep,
Yeah.
I think you are correct in that he's just a man in the 60s who's like, this little lady here is out of control, and her husband need to come pick her up.
Yeah.
And I think that's correct.
Yeah.
So
and the thing about
Hill is exonerated.
Yes. But also the thing about Saperstein is that people are just like, okay, well, he is an actual reputable doctor in New York.
Fancy.
Hutch's daughters
That's
went
right.
to him.
And they keep talking about that. And then, and when Rosemary goes to him, she said, Elise Dunstan is the one who recommended me to you. Oh, how is it, Elise? Like, you hear that there are other people that go to these doctors, so that they're not just from out of nowhere.
Right. And
like,
when
they're established.
And even Dr. Hill says, well, who you've been seeing? And she says, Saperstein. And he said, Abe Saperstein?
Abe Saperstein.
He knows him too. He knows his reputation.
That's right.
So at that point, I think he's just like, this broad.
Yeah, I think
where's your husband?
I think she's just nuts. But I think also that is and also even just Roman Castevet himself. It is telling us that these Satanists are placed in positions of great power,
right?
And are the people that you would least expect, and that's scary.
Yeah.
When you realize, oh wow, like really, powerful people in positions of influence and respect are.
Yeah.
In bed with Lucifer.
And, just all of his, like, crazy kind of stories about, like, name a place I've been
Name
there.
a place and I've been there.
Yes.
And it's like, is he, like, driven out of these towns? Or
what is he going there for? That's the other thing. We need to read, like, more background on Minnie and Roman.
Exactly.
Oh, my God. We should write something about
their backstory.
Write the backstory. I'm serious now.
The Hulu, Minnie and Roman miniseries.
Their origin story?
I'm not even fucking around. Seriously.
It would be good.
I would love to know, where is Minnie Castevet from?
Right.
Because she's so broad. She acts kind of Midwestern. But then again, maybe New England too. There's and of course, Roman's from New York. Old school from New York. But that would be really interesting. I also love the fact that, he's the leader. Because she actually screams at him through the wall. You shouldn't be the leader of anything, Roman. You should have never told these, you should have never told her.
Yeah.
Up front, I told you that he is the leader of this powerful coven, okay? And he's fucking henpecked to hell. He's such the carpet, the rug. He's such a clumsy. Like, he's so henpecked. I love that. And I think it's
brand
such
new
a great,
carpet.
And I think it's such a great, And also, the Lipton's tea.
Yeah.
What's in it? Tannis root.
It's just plain old
Lipton's
everyday
tea.
Lipton's
Drink it.
tea.
I love that shot,
Ain't
and
nothing
I can
in it.
tell that it's probably Ruth Gordon probably improv this when
The knife.
when Mia drops the knife and
Yes.
it just like lands perfectly, and then she picks it up and just like
And she like
rubs it.
rubs it.
rubs it, yeah.
That
Because
wood,
I mean, it's just like
that wooden floor.
Rosemary, you're not going to drop a knife on my nice wood floors.
But I think those little details are the things that they humanize.
Yes.
Yeah.
These aren't like, like Satanists like floating above the world, I mean, they exist in the material world right alongside of us, which is terrifying.
Yes.
Again.
And they're not Satanists that are like cutting the baby out of Rosemary or murdering anybody.
Right,
They're just
right.
like, she's fine, whatever, we're going to use her, and then she's out.
Yeah, exactly. And
She
they'll
can be out, and
yeah.
you can be out.
That's right.
We just want the kid.
We want the kid.
They're not this, like, I was thinking the whole time as I'm watching this, the scenes of all the people in her dream, and they're all naked.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking this is reminding me of Hereditary, right? And that's a cult, story. And there's a bunch of naked senior citizens in that movie.
Yeah.
And those people are really naked.
Jeez.
In this movie, it's just expertly cut and
you
shadows.
Can't really see. It's very shadowed, yes.
So I'm thinking, well, if this was made today, all those old people, all those extras would have to be butt-ass naked on this set in front of all these people and Jesus and everything. And then I'm thinking about this final scene with Rosemary and this huge kitchen knife walking in. And that's her baby that she just carried in this bassinet. And all these people are just standing there staring at her. And I'm thinking, if Rob Zombie got his hands on this movie, would she just be slicing everybody's neck on her way to this baby?
Totally.
Roman walks up to her and she's just like, boom.
Slice and dice. Totally.
And to make it to this kid. But she doesn't touch anyone. And she could easily murder half the people in this room.
But that restraint is really what's also very adds to the suspense and the terror of this. I mean, let's talk about a small gesture in this film that's terrifying, which is the one where she's hiding inside of and she's running and she's got her robe on and she's got her knife and she knocks the bassinet and it's moving and you see that her hand reach across the hallway and stop the bassinet with the tip of the knife.
Yeah.
That gesture is terrifying.
Yeah.
So small.
It's a crazy visual. Yeah. It's just terrifying because
metaphorical.
He's in the apartment.
Yes.
It's they do some really fun stuff because the apartments are connected and listening through the walls and all of that. And Scott mentioned there's a shot when I think it's around this scene.
Is that the one where they're all walking
behind her? And
you see them like
suits.
creeping past. They literally like creeping past. Like, that's so scary.
So freaky.
It is. It's so suspenseful and terrifying. And and she's all alone. I mean, she is. From the time that she realizes what has happened, she is, and that's also terrifying.
Yeah.
Because at first you're like, is she what Dr. Hill believes she is? Is she just paranoid and crazy?
Yeah, and I think that's what's really great about the direction is that there is a read of this movie until the last 20 minutes that Rosemary very well could be crazy.
She could just be crazy.
Yep, and making up all of this in her head that everyone's out to get her.
Yep.
Well, I do love the party that they have after the new year.
Yeah.
And, when her friends get there and they're just like, dude, you look like hell.
Yes.
And then when she breaks down in front of them and they're like, no, you can't come in. We are talking to her. Girl time, girl talk.
Girl talk, yeah.
And they're just like, this is wrong. Your doctor needs to address, you've been in pain for 3 months.
Yeah.
November, it's like Martin Luther King Day.
Yeah.
You need to we need to figure this shit out. You know?
That is a great
And it's
scene.
like, yes, she has her friends, but that's the first and last time we see them.
Yes,
the whole time. So,
she has been isolated. Well, that's the whole thing. I mean, if you go through this movie and watch it, you see how many times she has been manipulated. She doesn't know.
Yeah.
Like when she goes to meet Hutch at the Time Life building at 11 o'clock. When Guy brings her the phone for her to talk, she talks to Hutch the night before. He says, "Well, what's going on?" "Oh, well, Hutch wants me to meet him." "Where? What time?"
Yeah.
So she knows. So there is
Minnie
Minnie.
knows.
So Minnie's there. So she's constantly being thwarted. She's constantly being,
gaslit
the whole time. But then that scene that you just talked about where they're in the kitchen with the girlfriends and you see Guy pressed up against that door in the butler's pantry trying to get in and they're like, nope. And they lock him out.
Yeah.
Because he is there he's like riding herd. He is like the one that is keeping, he wants to know who's saying what to her. He's trying to keep her from hearing anything that she's not supposed to hear, from being empowered at all. And, that's horrific.
Yeah.
I mean, it's actually horrific.
Well, it goes even back to the scene where they do, drug her and and they make the baby and all of that. And she gets up in the morning and she has the scratches on her.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And he's just like, well, it was baby night.
It was baby night.
When I was knocked out.
It's like, it was kind of fun in a necrophiliac sort of way. And it's like, and it's moments like that. And there are moments also just when he's slapping her ass, get up.
Yeah.
Right before that. And get up, make my breakfast. It puts you back. Oh yeah, this is 1966.
Yeah.
Like this is a different time.
Yeah.
Women have very little power.
Yeah.
It's like I noticed when she's down in the basement with Terry Ginofrio. Terry Ginofrio doesn't ask her, "What do you do?" or tell me about. She says, "What does your husband
What does your
do?"
husband
Yeah.
do? Yep.
And that is also of that time.
Yeah.
It's like, women were just relegated to, you were just a housewife. That's
Yeah.
what you were. And you're okay. I'm going to have my babies and take care of my house and, pour my fabric softener in the washing machine out in the basement.
Yeah.
At the Bramford. And so when this movie, you just want to watch it a million different times with a million different set of eyes and look for different.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I watch this movie just to see what her fucking dishes are that she's using.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I know what they are.
Oh,
I tracked them down. They
Oh,
are
wow.
Franciscan ware. Harvest Gold is what they are.
love
called.
it.
Beautiful.
I
Look them up.
Also, just like the wallpaper that
The
Rosemary
amount of-
puts up, it just like
The best.
The amount of yellow in their apartment.
That the colors are. The color palette is very specific.
Right.
Her clothing, if you'll notice, watch it again. All of her clothing is pastels.
Yes.
Sure.
It's all everything. The kitchen's yellow. The nursery's yellow. Her bedroom is yellow. This is a color of youth, of light, of innocence, of naivete.
Right.
And so all that is built right into the set. I mean, down to her dishes. Her
Yeah.
dishes are yellow. They are. It's Harvest Gold. Is what
I
it
love
is.
that.
Franciscan, where they're beautiful. I've stocked them.
We were talking about when we first see the apartment when it's being shown to them.
Yes.
And it's Mrs. Gardenia's house.
it's a little darker.
It's a little dark.
Yeah.
It's still beautiful. I would love to live
me
in
too,
it
that
as
living
that.
room. Oh, me too.
But then, as they get everything out, then it's empty, and then they start painting it.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, I'm not the biggest fan of just white walls.
Yeah.
But it brightens up.
Isn't
that.
it crazy? It's crazy.
Yeah, it makes it a completely different apartment.
Completely different apartment. Yeah, but I did love Mrs. Gardenia's because that was like old Victorian lady, and just that world doesn't even exist anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And it's almost like in redoing all of that, Polanski is erasing the old world.
Yes.
And this is
Yeah.
Welcome to Year One, 1966. And so I think there's a part of that too. But God, I love that apartment so
I love Minnie just like poking her head on this apartment.
How much you pay for a chair like that?
How much you pay
And by
for
the
a chair
way,
like that?
$200 for a chair is like in 1966.
Yeah.
That was expensive.
Yeah, we were just talking about that last night. I was like, I think chairs like that at IKEA go for about $200 now.
I know. So I was like, that's pretty exciting. That's
Yeah.
but I love, oh my God, her furniture and her colors that she chose. That it's like avocado green and like harvest gold inside of that in her living room.
Yeah.
Oh, and her little dinette set with beautiful mid-century. Oh
Yeah.
God.
Well, I love too that Minnie's like, oh, you put a table and chairs in the kitchen. Like,
Yes.
wow, that's
How do
great.
you like that?
I saw that and I saw it in a magazine. Yeah. And so, yeah, it's, oh God, it's so good.
Yeah.
Yep. And so, I did look up and find the apartment layout, like the blueprint layout. And I've studied this thing from top to
There
bottom.
are so many rooms in this
Yeah.
There are so many rooms.
You brought us a copy of it.
Yep. And it's so weird because there are places that don't really get in the shots.
Right.
Like if you go into their bathroom, so it's between what would be the baby's nursery with the TV room in the beginning and then their bedroom, there's that space in there and it's the bathroom.
Yeah.
But which side is the shower or the bathtub on? You see the toilet because remember when they first came in, it was still Miss Gardenia's place.
Right.
And they walked through that room into the bedroom, and Guy leans over and flushes the toilet to see about the water pressure,
right.
which I love.
Okay. So
Such a
there it
wonderful,
is. Yeah.
such a wonderful little detail. But where in there it says the bathtub is like if you're going from the nursery / TV room into their bedroom, on there I think it says that the bathtub is on the right.
Right. Yeah.
But in the shots where in the morning after the Satan rape, you can kind of see because Guy's standing in the doorway, and you can kind of see to his right, which would be where the bathtub's at. But it looks almost like there's drawers over there. Or something.
Okay.
It's weird. So I don't know if they just tried to guess.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
this right here was made. There's a guy online who does these. He does, the Golden Girls, Mary Tyler Moore, Bewitched. So because there are corners of these houses that we've seen these houses all of our lives every day, but there's corners that you never really kind of know what is there.
Yeah.
You
What's
never
behind that?
never quite go down the hallway in the Golden Girls house
Yes.
and you enter the room. You wouldn't have seen that shot.
Yes. And so, and we were talking about, I Love Lucy. Like, little Ricky has a nursery. Like, where is it? Is it the size of a walk-in closet, in the Ricardo's apartment? And so I don't know. But anyway, and so we found this online. And so, of course, I've studied it like I'm going to have a goddamn test on it.
I love that stuff, though. I could study floor plans and maps and things like that all day long. And it seems like this has a real world application where something like the Golden Girls house is impossible to recreate.
It's impossible. It actually
in three dimensions.
You couldn't do same. Yeah, Brady Bunch, same thing we talked about.
Frasier, that apartment is like
it makes no
weird
sense.
W shape, you know. But this looks like it could be a floor plan of an apartment, and especially in some place like the Dakota or the Bramford, where this would have been subdivided from the Castevets.
Yeah, it would have been. What did the guy say at the beginning? It was a 10 broken down to a 4 and a 7 or whatever. And so that's what they did. So it's really, really interesting. And the other thing too is that we grew up in the living rooms of so many of these films and television series in particular, that to see a rendering of the floor plan, there's something so comforting about it,
definitely.
Like I think about like the Petrie's house, in the Dick Van Dyke Show, and the Brady Bunch, and Bewitched, and it's just it gives me a great sense of comfort and security, and it's so funny. How pathetic are we? We're just pathetic. I don't care.
I was telling Pete yesterday that Rosemary and Guy's house kind of reminds me of the duplex that we are recording this episode in.
Yes.
We live in an old house in Pasadena that was probably built in I would say probably the 20s or the 30s.
Yeah.
And they subdivided it into apartments, and we have a closed off stairway.
Yeah.
We have a closed off stairway, and we also have a tiny Coraline door in our kitchen.
Yep.
That is about 2 feet tall.
What?
And it leads into the crawl space above the awning over the surface porch downstairs.
Okay, after we are done with this, you guys. I'm serious. I'm going in there. You guys are going to push my fat ass. You're pushing my fat ass like Winnie the Pooh through that damn door so I can see what's in there.
I mean, it would be prime real estate for Satanists that just want a cute little house in Pasadena.
And the whole thing of every closet on this floor is a walk-in closet.
It's a walk-in closet.
So the rooms are built with like almost a weird crawl space in between. So behind me, there's a walk-in closet there, and then in the bedroom, the walk-in closet's here, and so they're right next to each other. So this space, there's something here.
There's what? What?
Weird.
That's right. There is.
Okay,
our closet goes out in a little bit, but not the entire way.
Yep.
It doesn't make sense.
I know it's in that space.
A dead body.
I know it's in that space. Mrs. Gardenia's vacuum cleaner is
Why would she close in a vacuum cleaner?
Why would she close up a vacuum
cleaner? And
cleaner?
her towels.
Exactly.
What is the every time someone asks, or every time they say that Guy is an actor, and someone asks, "What have I seen him in?" What does she say? She says
he did Luther, and Nobody Loves an Albatross, and he's done lots of TV and commercials. Exactly.
And that
Luther is
and
the
that
one.
Little Mia Farrow voice.
Yeah. That little tiny Mia Farrow voice. That almost sometimes it shifts as you're watching the film. Sometimes she almost is talking like she has almost a British accent.
She gets a little Audrey Hepburn in there sometimes.
She actually
do you think that was just
Nobody Loves
Mia
an Albatross?
Was just sort of classically trained in Hollywood that this is how you're supposed to talk?
No, I was just getting ready to say that. I think she was raised around actors, and classical actors, and she learned diction at an early age, and I think that it comes back.
Mid-Atlantic.
Yes,
diction.
And so you hear it come out in this film every so often, but. Yeah,
I love though that is Luther a real play? But then they also refer to
reference Albert Finney.
Are you understudying Albert Finney? All this, it's so interesting how it's
and even Roman remembers Guy when he was his understudy.
Or does he? Is it just
or does he? Or is it just a grift?
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows? But he knows. The thing is, they are grifters,
right?
And of course, you have to be. You're in the business of people selling you their souls. But so he knows how to get to this guy. He's an actor. He's vain, and he's going to appeal to that in him, and that's how he's going to get to him to get the baby. I mean,
It's because that's when Guy perks up. You know,
Oh
when
my
they're
God.
they're having the dinner and the steak is tough
Yep.
and the vodka blush is weird and all of that. But then when he says, "Oh, you did this gesture,"
yes,
and
Yep.
immediately I
that's
thought
what
of
it was when he
yeah.
goes down. That's
And
when
he's-
that's when he hooked him right
Yeah.
there. You got it exactly
Yeah.
right.
So that's
That's
when
the
I was like,
moment.
Can you
Oh.
just taste those vodka blushes?
I could.
When Minnie
What
hands her the glass,
What is it
and
that
it
makes
is
it
filled
blush?
to the brim.
Yes, it's
I'm
filled
going
with
to look up a vodka
blush. My
because-
guess is it's probably vodka, and the blush is probably like some rosé, like a touch
Sure,
of
that
rosé
would
or
be
something.
You know,
delicious.
I think that
I'm
I
down
think that
for
it tastes
that.
a little more bitter.
maybe there's some bitters actually in it. I don't even know, but what I do want is a piece of that damn cake that she was serving.
Yeah.
with
Right?
cherries on it and shit. And she's the way she's eating it makes me laugh so hard. And then she serves Guy his piece with a fork that she's been eating with.
Yeah,
She's shoveling it in her face, and then she goes like this. You want another piece? And then picks up his piece, hoists it over there with the fork that she just had in her mouth.
Oh my
we
goodness.
we kept wondering if what if we had Minnie living downstairs? Like, would I be all about her, or would I
Just be so goddamn annoyed.
be immediately annoyed with this
You
woman?
never know.
I don't know.
Because people like us, we always romanticize stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it would be so fabulous to have, like, Maude from Harold and Maude, or Minnie Castevet from Rosemary. But would you actually be annoyed?
Be like, get the
Yeah.
fuck out of
Yeah,
my apartment.
I think at
Crazy
first, for a
fucking
couple
bitch.
of weeks, we'd be like, "Oh, she's the best," and then
you'd be like, yeah,
when she starts opening our mail and
I know.
I mean, I guess that we would just be like their homosexual friends that they rope into being Satanists. Just because they just want to fully round out
You want to
their
get a
group.
diverse coven.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's hilarious.
okay. So this recipe just says dash of grenadine and lime juice.
Okay, so
Okay.
it's vodka. So the
Yeah.
so the pink comes from the grenadine, not from like rosé.
Yeah.
So vodka blushes. That actually sounds kind of good.
Vodka, dash of grenadine, dash of lime juice, and a sprig of rosemary for garnish.
See,
How about that?
We should make some.
Sprig of rosemary.
We should make
Oh,
some.
my sister's having a Halloween party. I'll tell her to serve those.
That's actually good. Tell her it's from Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah, yeah.
It's totally thematic.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. No. It's. I love this movie so much. you
So
guys.
good. I mean,
So, just kind of how this movie wraps up is that there is something about when Roman is saying, you could still be his mother. You could still be the little thing's mother.
You can still-
You don't have to join.
Yeah, you don't
but
have to join.
doesn't he need a mother? And then when you're watching it, you're like, I kind of get why Rosemary just sort of like is just like, what the fuck?
Here's the thing. As a mother myself, I will tell you right now, if I gave birth to the Antichrist, okay, Antichrist grew inside my body.
Satan
I
baby.
ate raw liver for him. I would mother him.
Yeah.
I have to tell you,
Yeah.
that's still my
Yeah.
baby. I have to. So I get it when she looks at him and her face softens.
Yeah.
And you go, that's it. She's
Yeah.
in love.
And she's just like, well, I guess he's kind of cute.
I think
He's
she's everything is going through her head at once, and she's having these thoughts of like, okay, I can, and just when you have those moments of you just start planning things that may never happen or fights with someone that you may never get into or
Yep.
she's having one of those moments and it could be just of like, okay, I'll do this, I'll have him, and then I'll have him, and maybe I can take him away.
Yes.
Maybe I can take him away.
Yes.
And leave them and
Yep.
get him out of it. You just figure all this stuff out in your head
Right.
in seconds.
Right.
And she's just like, okay, I'll do it. I'll do
Yes.
it so that I can take him, and then we'll leave.
Yep.
And we'll be out. We'll get out somehow.
Yep, and that's probably it. But ultimately, that's her baby, and
Yeah.
and you see the one shot where she looks at his face, she pulls it back, and she looks at his face, and you see her fall in love with him, and that's
Yeah.
how it is. That's
Yeah.
exactly how it is, and ain't nothing gonna break that bond.
Yeah.
Doesn't even matter. So yeah, she went on to mother him. That's
Yeah.
what I say.
Do we want to talk a little bit about Look What's Happened to Rosemary's Baby, starring
Patty Duke.
Patty Duke and also Ruth Gordon? Have you watched any of it?
I have not watched it.
We watched a little bit of it last night.
watched
and
That's all you could
5
handle?
It
minutes
is
of it.
pretty
Yeah.
terrible.
Oh my god!
But
Yeah.
like the synopsis for the TV movie sequel starring Tina Louise from Gilligan's Island
oh Jesus Christ!
is kind of insane. Having been adopted by by the madam of a southwestern brothel, a now adult Adrian must cope with the fact that he's Satan's kid and not living up to his expectations.
Not living up to Satan's expectations.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
so he
my
gets taken away from Patty Duke at some point because what we saw, he was still with her.
Well, I think that she takes him and leaves.
Okay, like I said.
Mm-hmm. See?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've never seen this.
Yeah, it was.
I don't know if I want to sully
1976. Don't do it.
I don't want to sully sully my love.
Don't do it.
But yeah, I mean, Tina Louise and Donna Mills.
Oh, jeez.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of a demonic duo. I have to say.
Who was making TV movies in the late 70s?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, they got Ruth Gordon back.
So was Ruth? What part was Ruth Gordon playing? Minnie
She's
Castevet?
Minnie, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
It is directed by the editor of Rosemary's Baby. It's directed by Sam Osteen. How do you like that?
How do you like that? So Minnie Castevet shows up in this sequel, but is she Minnie?
We only saw
you couldn't bear
the first
anymore.
10 minutes.
You just couldn't bear anymore.
And I think it's like Rosemary saying, I'm out.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And it's very interesting because in the, there's an opening credit sequence and it's just the camera floating up the stairs in this mansion.
Yeah.
And there's voiceover. And the voiceover is Roman and Rosemary, and it's the last lines of the movie of him saying, stay and be his mother, and she's screaming and all this stuff. And then what is very clearly Ruth Gordon saying Laura Louise's line of mother or not, or milk or not, we'll kill you.
We kill you, yeah.
And I was like, well, she didn't say that.
She didn't say that. Laura Louise said that.
Yeah. And it's very obviously Ruth Gordon saying
Okay.
So
I may have to just.
It's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube.
Yeah, the whole thing.
Okay. I may need to just do like you guys did, 10 minutes, just to get wet my beak just a little bit. In that.
And it's Patty Duke, and she's got like a bob, and you're just, I don't know what's going on with his hair. It just isn't. It's not. Right.
It looks like a lot.
Yeah.
So this movie did sort of kind of start the wave of the satanic panic movies.
Yeah.
Of the 1970s, The Exorcist, 1972, right? Exorcist, like early 70s.
Yes.
The Omen.
By the way, oh God,
love The Omen.
I love The Omen. I think it's I love that movie so. I loved it so much. I know by heart the satanic rhyme.
Oh my goodness!
When the Jews return to Zion, that one, and the comet rips the sky, and the Holy Roman Empire.
I broke out our Blu-ray set because we have a Best Buy pack of all of the Omen movies.
All the Omen sequels.
And I just take out the first disc, it says The Omen, put it in our Blu-ray player, the 2006 remake. And I was too lazy to get up and
it's the
change
same thing,
it.
though, right?
That
it's
I'm just like,
thing.
I guess I'll just fucking watch the remake.
Yeah, isn't it? But isn't it exactly?
It's pretty
the
much
same?
the same thing.
I watched that and I was like, this is like almost verbatim.
But guess who shows up as the evil
Mia
nanny?
Farrow.
Is Mia Farrow.
She's the evil nanny.
She's Mrs. Baylock.
Mrs. Baylock. Blaylock.
Blaylock. Yeah. In the remake. Yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
Isn't that interesting?
It's so good. But I love The Omen. I think The Omen was fantastic.
And it's interesting that The Omen got all of these sequels. I mean, obviously, like the TV movie is like sort of its own thing.
Yeah.
But there was never a major Hollywood follow-up to Rosemary's Baby.
Because Exorcist and Omen both had a series of varying quality sequels.
Hey, Exorcist 3 kind of rocks.
I don't know about
Exorcist 3. Exorcist 3 he's all grown up, and
Exorcist 3 is with George C. Scott.
And I saw that guy.
And he's one of the cops that's like on the scene at the end of the movie.
Right.
It doesn't even have Reagan.
Yeah, it doesn't even have Reagan.
She's only in the second
It's
one.
it's weird. It's like a weird standalone movie.
Yeah.
And it has one of the scariest jump scares I think I've ever seen in a horror movie.
I think it's better that Rosemary's Baby does not have a series of crappy sequels. And it's good that most people don't even know about. And what is it called? Whatever Happened to Rosemary's Baby? That's so lame.
That's so lame.
Look what's happened to Rosemary's Baby.
Look what's happened. Not even whatever happened. Look what's happened.
Oh man,
it's so apt.
And also, like, Rosemary's Baby was a huge hit when it came out.
Yes.
It's like movies made money, but like movies like The Sound of Music made money. And Rosemary's Baby made that type of cash.
Yes.
Think like I was looking up the inflation of the box office of Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah.
It made around $35 million in 1968, and I did the inflation math. $250 million.
Yeah. See, I mean, and
like the most successful horror movie that had ever been made at that time.
yeah, absolutely. But I mean, you watch it and you can see why.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, first of all, it's like I said earlier, it's so many different films, and you can watch it on so many different levels. There are people who love it as a horror film, and then there are people, you know, who love it as an art direction and style and wardrobe film, and then there are people who just love it as a great motherfucking film.
Yeah.
And like, it is my absolute favorite.
Its runtime always impresses me that it never feels like it's 2 hours and 15 minutes.
No,
it does not feel long.
Not at all.
Yeah.
At all. Not at all. It's how long is it?
I think it's over 2 hours.
See, it.
Yeah.
2 hours and 17 minutes.
Wow.
That's crazy.
No, it
doesn't feel like
moves.
that at all.
No, it's just so beautifully done.
Yeah.
You know, it's beautifully edited, except for that one weird shot with Hutch. You guys have to watch that
we'll
weird
find
shot with it's right at the very end of that scene where they're devouring the body of Christ. But yeah, no, it's a weird shot, but it's just everything about it. It's like flawless. I can't even think of anything.
Yeah, it's a pretty perfect movie, and I get for listeners that Roman Polanski is a very problematic person.
Absolutely.
That he's very difficult to talk about.
Yeah.
And kind of, you do have to separate the art from artist with something like this.
You absolutely
that
have to.
it's just like, I don't know. It's like there's too much things going on in your brain that you do have to turn certain things off about the individual that made it.
I agree. And, you know, and there can be other times and other podcasts where, you know, where Polanski's problematicity, you know, can be addressed. You know, for whatever else he is, he's a magnificent director.
Yeah, I mean, nobody was making movies like him at that time in the 60s. That it was something very new.
I think the other thing, too, is that this is pre-blockbuster movie as we know them.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
this is pre-Jaws, obviously.
Yes.
So this is not something that the movie industry and movie studios worked so differently than they do today. You know, it was just, you know, right after, you know, the old Hollywood system had broken up.
Yep.
So it's still very much an old Hollywood
Yes.
time.
Yes.
So for one movie to make this much money and to be played for as long as it played in theaters, I think this one played in theaters for a long time, you know, was a huge deal. I didn't know, I probably knew it just offhandedly, but as I was doing research last night, you know, Ruth Gordon famously won an Academy Award for this
she
movie.
did.
Deservedly.
Most deservedly
Most
so.
deservedly. And I think, you know, one of the things that Robert Evans was kind of telling Mia Farrow when she had all these difficulties with, my husband doesn't want me to make this movie, blah, blah, blah. Should I stay? Should I leave? And he's telling her, you're going to get an Academy Award for this movie.
Yeah, he told her. Yep.
And she wasn't even nominated.
Yeah. Wow. Mia Farrow has never
What?
been nominated for an Oscar.
But it's
Really?
like,
no.
is that a deliberate snub? And it's like you could make the argument, well, it's a genre movie, it's a horror movie, they didn't nominate those things. But Ruth Gordon got
Ruth Gordon.
she won.
It got another nomination. What else did he get?
For
nominated?
something
For
else.
screenplay? Was it for
I think it's
screenplay?
screenplay.
Yeah, adapted screenplay.
Yeah.
Hold up. I want to look at this Oscar year.
So,
And I believe this is the Oscar Best Actress tie year.
Oh,
That
that
would
would
have been-
Geraldine Page or something?
No,
Or
it's
was it
Barbara
Streisand and
Katharine
Katharine
Hepburn.
Was that 69
The Lion in Winter?
Oscars? Yeah, The Lion in Winter. Yeah, so I mean,
it's the. I mean,
that year.
To be fair, I mean, Best Actress did look pretty stacked that year, but I mean, could you have gotten rid of
Who else was in it?
Patricia Neal or Vanessa Redgrave and subbed in Mia Farrow? I think so.
Yeah. I think so too. So yeah, that's because she asked him to get out of the contract.
Right.
She asked Polanski after Frank Sinatra served her with divorce papers on set, which is so fucking petty. And she asked Polanski to let her out of the contract, and they showed her an hour of the film that they had cut together so far, and he said you're brilliant and you're going to get nominated.
Yeah.
And of course she did not.
Wow.
So yeah.
And it's like, obviously today this type of performance would be recognized. But,
absolutely. And also, there's also the talk about the curse of Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is the what happened.
The Manson murders followed, a year and a half after the release of this movie.
Yep. So Polanski's wife was killed up on Cielo Drive.
The Omen was a very troubled production that had a lot of bizarre and dangerous things go on in it.
Well, The Omen and The Exorcist both have their own legends of their being cursed projects.
Yes. Well, also, what happened with Rosemary's Baby was while they were in post-production, the film wasn't even out yet. Christoph Komeda, who did the music, la, 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 la,
such a beautiful score.
La, so beautiful. And he was like a really interesting person and did a lot of really progressive, interesting music that is recognized now, actually. He was with some other guy who worked in the industry, his best friend, and they were up in the Hollywood Hills, and this was, like I said, post-production, and they were drunk or high or whatever and fucking around, and his friend shoved him off a cliff.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Like they were, they think it was not on purpose. I think it was just drunken hijinks, and he hit his head and had a brain injury.
Oh, wow.
That he never recovered from. His wife actually, they shipped him back to Europe where he was from, and in a coma.
I didn't know this at all. Wow.
Yes, and he died. And he died before the film came out. And I think he was young, 35 or something.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was another thing to throw
probably one of those composers that, had he lived, would have gone on to
absolutely
win like 5 Oscars and be like a superstar.
Absolutely. Absolutely would have. I mean, if you listen to whatever work, that he did have in his body of work before he passed away, it's all very experimental and interesting and atmospheric, and I think he was really far ahead of his time.
Yeah.
But yes, he did die also. So
were there any other curse stories from this movie? Or were those the big ones? Those are good ones.
Those are good ones.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I think that's the only one that's the only other one that I know of.
Okay, so Mia was also was nominated for the Golden Globe for Best Actress.
Oh, she was?
Yes. Ruth Gordon was nominated as well and won.
And she won. So
the Golden Globe.
Ruth Gordon won the Golden Globe and the Oscar.
Yeah. And Mia Farrow was nominated for the BAFTA for Best Actress.
Wow.
Nomination only. She didn't win that either.
Yeah, Mia Farrow has like 3 BAFTA nominations and she never got an Oscar nomination.
So it got recognized.
So she's never even had a nomination?
No, I'm surprised that she never got in for
like Hannah and her sisters or
Atlas or anything.
Yeah, very interesting.
It is also kind of unfortunate. Woody, that's its own discussion episode of just discussing Woody Allen.
Yes.
But it does kind of suck that her career was just kind of tied to Woody Allen for
a long time.
The majority of the 80s and I guess that she had separated from him
80s,
by the 90s, but she pretty much just made movies exclusively with him.
Yes. She's just, there's a part of her that strikes me as she's like a woman of her time. You know what I mean?
I remember in that HBO documentary that came out last year, she did talk about that Woody would almost brainwash her to think no one's going to hire you.
Yes.
Like you're over the age of 40. No one's going to want to work with
kids,
you. So I'll just write you roles.
Yes.
I kind of think that's what he was selling.
I absolutely expect that to be true. That's so awful. Good.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
But like we said, Ruth Gordon got an Academy Award for this movie at 70 years old.
Just
I think she has a cute acceptance speech too.
Yes, you have to look up her acceptance speech on YouTube because it's marvelous. And she's such a funny person, such a funny, she always plays these like dowdy and loud and blah, blah, blah. And she's from Quincy, Massachusetts, and she is, but she was actually very elegant.
Well, Mia talks about that on the Criterion, that she had known Ruth for a few years prior to the movie, and she just kind of expected, like, she's a lot of fun. Like, we're going to have a blast on set. We're going to be playing, like, ping pong with each other. Like, it'll just sort of lighten the mood of this very dark story. And when Ruth came to set, like, she did not come there to play. Like, she knew her lines, she knew her blocking, she came to work.
Business. Yep, she was.
And she took it very, very seriously.
She's a pro, and she was like New York entertainment royalty. I mean, seriously, if you read any of her biographies or autobiographies, which she's written a couple, where she talks about she was married to Garson Kanin. I mean, she's known everyone.
Yeah.
And everyone loved her. She was like the ultimate consummate hostess.
Yeah.
You know, elegant and sophisticated and smart and funny and generous. And I mean, that is goddess right there. Yeah. Seriously. I don't have any tattoos, but if I ever get one, I'm getting Ruth Gordon right on my bicep.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. I'm making a whole sleeve of Ruth. Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Get some Harold and Maude in there.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's been a while since I've revisited Harold and Maude. I used to love that movie when I was in high school.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Like, just to even watch it, it's beautifully shot and stuff. It's you feel a little bit different about it as you get older.
Okay.
You know, like I watch it, and to me it's so funny because, you know, you see it as a teenager or whatever, and it's like, yeah, and you relate to Harold.
Right.
You know, and then you hit a certain age and you go, wait a minute, I'm not Harold anymore. I'm Maude.
I'm Maude living in the caboose.
I'm Maude living in the caboose. You know, yeah, exactly. And it's like you kind of grow. Like, I remember I read something a long time ago. I have kids, I have daughters, and they were little when the Little Mermaid was out. And, you know, there was a time I remember when I used to watch like Disney movies, and I would be the princess. That was me. I was the princess, and that's who I related to. And then one day I remember I was watching The Little Mermaid with my daughter, and all of a sudden I realized I'm not Ariel anymore. Now I'm King Triton. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like the parent that's shepherding this, and you grow through, you know, different levels in these films. And so I don't relate to Harold anymore like I did when I was a teenager, and I thought that was so fantastic and so, you know, romanticized. And, you know, now I'm Maude and wearing my little old cardigan and living in a caboose, and just, you know.
I don't know if I'm Maude or like the Shakespearean actress that he goes on a date with.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I love that scene.
Yeah. Or what about his mother? Just
yeah. Yeah.
Harold.
Something else.
Yes.
I remember when I had that realization that I was like, oh, I get it. Wes Anderson really wants to be Hal Ashby.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now I get it.
And I've been reading a lot of everybody, all of a sudden everybody hates Wes Anderson. What's
right?
up
Yeah.
with that?
Yeah, not a lot of people are talking about this new movie.
Everybody's just like all of a sudden like, oh, I hate Wes, and I'm like, oh, Royal Tenenbaums.
I know. It's like, it's still great.
I love Royal Tenenbaums.
Yeah.
I will always love
Same.
Royal Tenenbaums.
We did a revisit of the Royal Tenenbaums during quarantine.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
It
great.
holds up.
Holds
It's
up great.
Okay.
Such great performances.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to listen to that one because that movie, Etheline,
oh my
and,
goodness.
and I just, you know, it's so
those
beautiful.
two together are so great.
I know.
They're so,
I know.
yeah.
I know. But he's retiring, and everybody's retiring. All these great actors from the past are, you know, like I heard Michael Caine was saying he's done now too, and yeah. Gene Hackman said he's having a hard time with lines.
Okay,
he's like, I'm just having a difficult time.
I don't think Gene Hackman's worked.
He's retired.
I don't think he's worked for totally almost 20 years though.
He's like
I think he retired shortly after the Royal Tenenbaums.
Yeah, I think he did.
Yeah.
And so, my favorite line in the movie is when he's talking to the two little boys, his grandsons. He says, "I'm so sorry about your mother. She was a very
attractive woman." Yeah.
I'm so sorry about the death of your mother. She was a very attractive woman to children. I love that line. But yeah, I'm gonna have to listen to that because.
We didn't do it for an episode. We did it for we just watched it.
Oh, you just watched
during
it?
The pandemic. Yeah.
Oh, have you guys done Royal Tenenbaums?
No, not yet.
Not yet. We need to though.
We need to. Yeah, that one is. Yeah.
how has no one like snagged that one?
I know. That's the thing. Sometimes I feel like, we've done so many episodes. Are we going to be able to keep this up? And then I'm like, no, there's
more.
always another movie that we haven't gotten to.
Oh my God. There's other ones that
so that one's up there.
Maybe
for
you'll
me.
have to come back for the Royal Tenenbaums.
Yeah, if you guys start revisiting, I know. I want to ask you which movies you've done, but I don't want to say them because then somebody else will go, oh no, I want
jump on that. Yeah.
You can ask us later.
Yeah,
I will ask you.
Talk about it off mic
because I definitely have one that I'm going to ask you guys.
Oh, fun. Well, I mean, I think we could talk about Rosemary's Baby all night long.
It's so good.
It is so good.
It's a movie that sometimes I'll go a few years without seeing, and then I'll put it in, and I'm like, fuck, this movie is great.
Yep. Oh no! Sometimes I'll go a few days without watching it. I mean, I literally just put it on.
I was gonna say, like you were saying, this movie. I'm the type of person that has something that's just on.
Oh yeah,
if I'm
sure.
working
or
doing
sure.
whatever.
I have to. Yeah.
I always do that, and this can definitely be that type of movie because it is just so beautiful that it can just be on and playing, and I just look at it and love it. But also, if I did want to just sit down and take a break, just watch any part of it and just be like, all right, this is where we are.
You know what else is like that?
So
that
good.
The Fearless Vampire Killers.
It's
just a beautiful movie to look at. What Roman had done the year before this.
Okay, I haven't even seen it.
You've never seen the Fearless
It's
Vampire
only
Killers?
1 year before this.
So it is
older.
Roman Polanski and Sharon Tate.
Yeah.
What?
And he's traveling around, I think it's like Transylvania, like Eastern Europe, and he ends up at this inn, and Sharon Tate's there. And it's 60s Sharon Tate, like the most beautiful woman
woman
on
Doesn't she
the
have
planet.
Isn't her hair red in the movie?
Yeah.
I think she's wearing like a red wig.
And she gets kidnapped by a coven of vampires, and he ends up having to break into a vampire ball.
Okay, how have I never
You've never seen The Fearless Vampire
Never
Killers?
seen it.
And I mentioned that at the top of the episode, that my stepdad, who grew up in the 60s, he was young in the 60s, and he remembers that movie. And Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah.
And just sort of what a huge impression it made on him when he was young.
Yep, and Sharon Tate.
Oh yeah, you have to look.
Yeah,
you have to look it
look
up.
it up.
We'll show you clips of it, and there's beautiful painted backdrops in it.
See,
yeah, it's cool.
I love a beautiful movie. I loved a movie that you could turn the sound off and just watch and just be like just agog.
I showed it to Pete last October, and I don't think he was super into it.
It's definitely a dated movie, and it feels very. It's a European movie.
Yeah,
it's not an American production.
So is that sometimes European film? They almost feel like a Mentos commercial.
Yes.
You know, when you watch a Mentos commercial, you can't quite put your finger on it. You know, something is off about this.
Well, they do that
Different.
thing. They do that thing where like
What is it?
every actor just speaks their native tongue and then they just dub it all over in English.
Yeah, I don't know if it's in the editing or whatever. Yeah, but I noticed that there is a very Mentos commercial vibe.
Absolutely,
about European stuff.
That.
I have to watch
The Fearless Vampire Killers. Check it out.
And Sharon Tate is in like St. Pauli girl drag.
Oh, she's so beautiful.
She is God. If she had just, can you imagine if she had lived?
I mean, yeah,
she's just so. What a magnificent unicorn!
Yep, yep. Speaking of unicorns, Mia Farrow is a voice in The Last Unicorn, and that was another movie I was thinking we need to do.
Made a huge impression.
Animated
on
movie
us
from
when
the early 80s.
When we were children.
Yeah, that's
I didn't
another.
I didn't know she did. My kids love that too.
Oh yeah, she's the voice of The Last Unicorn.
Her and Jeff Bridges,
Princess Amalthea,
and Alan Arkin.
Yeah, that's a beautiful movie. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So
yeah, I mean, we should wrap this up.
Thank you so much. We finally got you on the show.
I know. After a year,
I've recruited Drew Droege from you.
Yes.
Jackie Beat did the Poseidon Adventure.
Yes.
We just have to get Sherry.
We will be reaching out to
Sam.
Sherry Vine.
We have to get. Well, I'm going to say the names right now.
Yeah.
You need Sherry Vine needs to show up.
Absolutely.
You know who else would be wonderful is Mario Diaz.
Yes,
I would love to get Mario Diaz.
Let me tell you something right now. Mario Diaz is the greatest conversation. He's the funniest. I'm not kidding you.
A legend of LA nightlife.
Yeah.
Legend of
city.
LA and New York City.
Oh yes,
Yep.
yes.
I mean,
absolutely.
he is an icon.
Yeah.
And he would be fantastic. And Nadia Ginsburg.
Love Nadia.
Absolutely.
Selene Luna. Do you know Selene?
Yes, I love.
Selene?
Yes,
Yeah, she's
I know
fantastic.
Selene.
She would be fantastic. Hilarious.
Yes.
And
I remember the first time I saw her out in like East LA.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah,
There she is.
another icon. Like, I can't even believe I get to know these people, much as call them my friends. Yep. And, so I know them all, and we'll get them all in here.
Definitely. That would be so much fun.
They're the best.
And we'll definitely have you on again for
We'll do this
for
again.
something else.
Yes, I insist that we do this again, but I'm not going to say.
Yeah, no,
'cause I want to find out.
We'll hold it.
We live in the same town. I
Yeah.
see you all the time.
I know.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Wrote me in. But this has been lovely. Thank you so
Definitely.
much for thinking of me, you
Well,
guys.
of course.
And thank you most of all for holding this film for
Yes.
me, because I know that you did.
I mean, we've been holding it for 122 episodes.
Yes. So thank you so much. I'm
Oh, you're
glad
very
I finally got
welcome.
to slither my way over.
Are you currently, is there anything that you can talk about that you're currently working on?
I'm just working on my my book right now, my
great.
memoir of my scandalous youth.
Ooh.
And I'll keep you updated on when
Love it.
that's done. And it's
Yeah,
interesting.
let us
It's
know. We'll
interesting
give it a
to-
plug.
Yeah,
Love it.
absolutely.
Well, thank you so much again, but it is time to say good night. And until next time, Muffy, thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening, everybody.
What a fun
Once
month.
again. Yes, indeed.
Did a lot of great movies this month.
Does that wrap up our spooky movies?
I think we really outdid ourselves. And next week's episode
Yes.
is going to be
Going to be a lot of fun.
amazing.
So great.
We've been waiting to do this next one, like Rosemary's Baby,
Yeah.
pretty much
These last two.
the entire run of our show.
We have had them on the books for a while now.
Mm-hmm.
So glad to be getting them out to you. But I think right now it is about that time.
Patreon shout-outs.
Patreon shout-outs. We would like to say a big hey hello to Travis, Esperanza, Nicole, Susan, Barry, JJ, Leighton, Shelby, Merle, Charlie, Heather, Paul, Jamie, Drew, Jimmy, Genevieve, Dawn, Josh, Emily, Aaron, Melinda, Jim, Jessica, Nick and Shannon, Christine, and Rufino. Thank you as
Thanks so
always.
much.
Thank you so much. Head over to patreon.com/movies that made us gay and check out all of our fun, special, exclusive Patreon editions, like our new newsletter that just went out. As patrons, you should have gotten a newsletter already very recently, and the Watch With Us commentaries.
Yeah.
We keep saying we're going to get another one. We're going to get another one for October.
We've done two.
Before
That's
the
pretty
month
good.
is out, but we're going to get an extra special one in very, very shortly. So check that out. We would also love it if you would rate and review and subscribe to our show.
Give us 5 stars,
Give
please.
us 5 stars. Go to Apple Podcasts. Write us a review. We'll read it on the show.
Yeah.
We love when we get good reviews. So please go ahead and do that over on Apple Podcasts. You can find us on social media on Instagram and Facebook. We are at Movies That Made Us Gay.
And on Twitter at MTMUGPod.
Yes, indeed. You can find me. My name is Pete. I am on Facebook and... Not Facebook. I say that all the time. You can find me. My name is Pete. I am on Instagram and Twitter at Peter Lasagna.
And I'm Oscar Scott on Twitter, Scott Youngballer on Instagram, and look up my letterbox.
Yes, indeed. I'll get to my letterbox again.
I fill out
made a new
mine
one and
all
I
the time.
always forget to add to it. I'll keep adding to it. So check us out there. Until next time, everybody. Thank you so much. We will see you very, very soon. Bye.
I specifically said Mia Farrow in Rosemary's Baby.